Hello and welcome to Too Fast, Too Forever. There's all kinds of family. We chose this one. This is episode 115. Dude, here's my car. I'm Joey Lewandowski.
I'm Joe too, and this episode is brought to you by OnStar. Be prepared for the unexpected. You don't usually get much warning before an emergency happens, and you don't get to go back and make sure you're adequately prepared to deal with it. Thank you, OnStar.
Thank you indeed, OnStar. Well, welcome to the show, and I will say right off the top that if I sound differently, I am recording from an actual garage. We've joked before about how our tune-ups, our relap recaps, come from garages. I am actually in a garage now because the hurricane, even though it seems like the hurricane kind of missed where I was, like we didn't get a lot of rain, wind knocked out my power,
here too,
and my power is out for like 5 days, supposedly. It went out midday Tuesday, just after noon on Tuesday, and the estimated time of return Sunday at 3 p.m. So super cool.
Yeah.
So thankfully to the pandemic, my parents have not moved to Texas yet. So I have a nearby locale that I can bunker up at. But basically I've done nothing because power's been out. But Joe, extracurricular activities, what have you been up to while I've been living like the rustic days of yore?
I was watching hockey. The Penguins won Tuesday or Monday night. They play again tonight after we record.
Well, shout out sober season, right?
Shout out sober season. I was fucking right. I was drinking water and they won. I got my same t-shirt on that I wore last time. I'm ready for it tonight. I'm drinking a lot of water, getting hydrated. I'm like the most hydrated boy on Penguins game nights. I pee like 5,000 times because I'm just guzzling water like I would be drinking. I'm excited. Hopefully that they keep winning and I'll be a very happy guy.
Well, so that actually translates well into what I want to bring up, is that we were on the fence about whether we're going to do the watch-along party on Saturday or Sunday, depending if the Pens went to Game 5, which they still might not, depending on if they win the next two or lose the next two. There might not be a Game 5 or whatever, right?
Yeah.
But because I don't have power, we are officially going to confirm this Sunday, the 9th, August 9th, as... knock on wood, assuming that I have power, our watch-along party watching Fast and Furious number 4 from 2009 with the fam on Discord. So if you want to join us...
It's tentative because you might still not have power. We're being optimistic, but I'm giving you an out.
It's giving me an out, it's giving you an out, it's all better. So it's Sunday, I apologize in advance to the Australian people if you're not able to join. Man, I did not expect to be without power for this long, and this is also giving us the penguin pending out too, so officially confirming Sunday the 9th at 9 p.m.
Well, not officially because you don't know if you'll have power or not.
Well, yeah, I mean, as officially as we can.
Yes, that's what I can.
But I will send out via email in the afternoon on Sunday if I have power. Either way, we'll send an email either saying yes, it's on, or no, it's not on, and we'll just do it a later week or something, right? But yeah.
Sorry for the wishy-washiness, but obviously Joey couldn't tell God to not have a hurricane, so that's what happened.
I also, in terms of a quick fantasy baseball update, this is now 5 days old by this point, but I am in first place after 1 week, which is very exciting. Only a 7-week regular season, so that's good. And then 2 other sort of show-related updates not tied to what I've been doing. But number 1, I told you, there is a chance that Patreon shuts down. So there was a lawsuit that this guy, and I don't remember his name, some alt-right guy who had a Patreon on there, that they suspended him for hate speech or for violating their terms of service or whatever. And so he and a bunch of his supporters sued Patreon. And so Patreon, on January 1st of this year, updated the terms of service to basically prevent... I didn't read verbatim, and I also don't understand the legalese of it all, to prevent basically lawsuits like that, and whatever happened, they lost the lawsuit. So Patreon might have to pay like millions of dollars out to a bunch of different, like, it seems like they did a messy thing, like this guy who, obviously, nobody likes whatever, but like Patreon seems to have done something that they shouldn't have done in terms of the, trying to get around this and whatever. There's no word yet that Patreon will go under, but if they do, we'll switch over to something for those of you who want to support us and have a say in what we do and what we watch. I don't know what that'll be yet, and I hope that Patreon's able to survive this, but just putting that out there, that's kind of news-ish, not about the Fast and Furious, but about the show. Yeah. And number 2, there was another thing, we did not announce we were going to cover this, but there was a 26-episode arc of an anime called IGPX, The Immortal Grand Prix. And this is a anime about racing that has
Yes.
Michelle Rodriguez in it. And I'm like, oh my god,
Well,
this
she's
is amazing.
voice dubbed because it's an
Yeah,
anime.
she's
Yeah.
voice. And so I was like, this is amazing. Like, we got to see this because, I mean, it's cars, it's Letty, it's everything, right?
Yep. I was
And
with
I
you.
just assumed, without having looked, because I just assumed that everything recent, relatively recent, is available, right? Either legally or illegally. Like, we can either stream it somewhere, like I assumed it would be on, like, on Prime or, like, on some
YouTube.
anime channel on Prime or
YouTube.
YouTube. Yeah. Or, like, if all else fails, we could find it on some, like, weird bootleg website. That's all
Yes.
not happening. The only place we found it, and you found it,
Yep.
is they have 13 episode chunks that they have uploaded to YouTube. They not only sound terrible, like they've altered the sound to not get taken down.
Oh yeah.
There is a white, basically, imagine like a sheet on top of it that's like gridded with like dots to not have the video get taken down either. So
Yep.
it's doubly awful. And I was saying to you, like, I'm not a huge fan of anime just because it's a rabbit hole that I have not fallen down, because I think I would, I just don't have the time to get sucked in. The whole point, to me at least, of watching anime is the visuals, and I don't want to stare at this, and you're like, I don't want to hear this
No,
for
the
6 hours.
audio was so bad. Like I found the YouTube clip on my phone, and like normally like when you play something through your phone speaker, it sounds shitty, but
Yep.
this sounded like really shitty even through my phone speaker. I was like, you were like, oh man, like okay, maybe we could watch this. I was like, you should probably click that link on a computer just to see how bad this audio is because it sounded really terrible to me, and it is unbearable.
And like what's weird is that like the visuals, like on the smaller the screen is, the better the visuals look, which is never a good thing because it's like, oh
No,
boy, I'm not going to watch this. Like if it was one episode, I would make it, I would deal with it, but not 26 episodes over 6.5 hours.
no,
So just
definitely
to
not.
say, there is an anime out there about cars with Letty in it called IGPX Immortal Grand Prix. That if you're a Letty completionist and you somehow didn't know about it, it's out there. So we got a little bit more wiggle room this lap in terms of what we can cover, but I was kind of bummed because I was like, knowing nothing about it,
We
I don't know if
can't
it's going to be
find
good
it
or not.
anywhere
But
either,
like,
right? Like you like
yeah, we have places that we can normally find things that are harder to find, and like they're not even there. It's like this show doesn't exist. It's wild.
yeah, it's very, very strange. And like I think that they just like redubbed it. I think that it was like a Japanese show and they got Michelle Rodriguez to do the English dubbing for it.
That would make sense. I mean, the world will never know, right? We'll just
I
we'll
don't
live in
yeah.
mystery.
Yeah, it was weird, man.
Yeah, and like we hadn't announced it, like we didn't have to bring it up, but it was a cool thing. That I was excited to like share whatever it would be, like with you and with the listeners and whatever. Be like,
Oh
oh, there's
yeah.
this whole other car world that Letty's a part of, and then like I was like, let me just look, because that was the one thing on the list. I'm like, I don't know if we can find this, and also I was like, should we do the same week? Because like that's a lot to watch and talk about in the week, and I was just like, oh, we don't even have to worry about it because we just can't find it.
Yep.
Anything else you've been up to extracurricular
Oh,
activity wise?
Rachel and I started Umbrella Academy, the
Season
Netflix
two is
show.
getting rave reviews. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Well, yeah, that's what happened. Like a lot of my friends were talking about season 2, and I was like, you know what? I'll give one episode a shot and just see how I feel about it. Did you watch it?
I've not seen it yet. I know it's like Netflix's answer to the X-Men, basically.
Yeah, that's fair. So we watched like the first episode, and I was like, I'm super hooked into this. So we watched 2 yesterday, and I'm probably gonna blow through that pretty quickly. It's a lot of fun. It's a nice in between for me where it's like a drama is interesting but also not super detail, or I mean I don't know because I'm 2 episodes in, but it's not like something that I'm like I feel like I'm missing stuff if I like look down for a second, you know what I mean?
I saw a tweet recently that reminded me not of you but of a lot of people where it's like, it's like Netflix. Are you still watching? Like if you have like the thing on loop, like it'll ask you
Yeah.
after a while, like, are you still watching? Just hit OK. Tell me one thing that happened in the last episode. It's like, come on, Netflix, don't do that to me. He's like, what's the guy? What's the name of the character with the mustache? He's like, I can't answer that question. He's like, stop, put your phone down. It's just like Netflix. Netflix knows what you're doing, right? So
Yeah, it's like hey, pay attention to me, and you're like, no, dude, like no. Either way, like I'm actually watching this show. I'm just saying, like, if I got up to like refill my water, I'm not like, oh, pause. Like I can't
right.
miss 36 seconds of this show.
I'm looking forward to it. It's on my list. It's pretty high on my list. I want to see it. Like, I remember season one getting like kind of mixed to good reviews that were like, yeah, it's good, but it's not like you don't have to like stop what you're doing and watch it. And then like, but season two, like, people are going nuts for season two.
Yeah, and also the cool thing is I know Gerard Way from My Chemical Romance is involved. I don't remember like specifically what he's doing, but I know that he's at least in charge of like the soundtrack of it. He plays like all these great deep cuts that we usually play during like the YouTube game. The first 2 episodes had 2 songs that I'm like, oh my god, I love these songs. These are songs that we play as like deep cuts here that like a lot of people were like, I haven't heard this song in years, and it was like, so I like his musical taste. Obviously he would have like pretty good musical taste being a musician in a band that we also enjoy. The score and the music and the soundtrack are also really good and part of the show.
Okay, very cool. Yeah, I'm going to watch that at some point. I mean, no time soon, especially now that I don't have power. Like, I could, like, I'm
Exactly.
not like, I don't want to, like, sound like I'm out, like,
Camping.
yeah, like I'm at my parents' house. They have power, which is wild because like they always lose power, and they have. I'm like, I don't know, whatever. I'm just glad that somebody does. I mean, you offered to let me go up there. I had someone who's
Yeah.
even further from me offered. She's like, if you want to come up to Boston, I was like, she's like, I know this sounds crazy. I was like, well, I appreciate that, but like,
Yeah, dude, you always got a spot here. You know that.
I just want to be like close. Like I know that like it's gonna come back soon. It's just
It
whatever.
is.
But
Yep.
anyway, yeah.
If you were like, I can't work this, I forgot that your parents didn't move yet because of COVID. But like, I was like, if you're like trapped there, come
Right.
have power here and charge your phone at least, so you're
Yeah,
not
like I
like
had,
in
there
your
was a couple
car.
times, and I think we might have even referenced it in some regard on here. Maybe it was a Mike podcast. Again, I don't know. But there were 2 weeks when I was like right out of college, I think, or maybe one in college, one after college, where we lost power here for a full week, which I was like, oh God. And like it was in winter, like it was cold and it was snowy and whatever. And
That
like
sucks.
6 days into the first one or the second one or whatever, my friend who was down in Virginia was like, oh, you should have just come down here. I was like, yeah, why didn't either of us think about like, it's like a 7 hour drive is a far drive, but like you go to like a warmer place with power and
Yeah,
like
with
I
a
can work from
friend.
anywhere. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, as long as it exists, we have a Patreon page, toofast2forever.com. Shout out to Cassie Wilson, Jake Freer, Ben Milliman, Nick Burris, Alex Ellenen, Justin Kleinman, Brian Rodriguez of High School Slumber Party. I hope you enjoy him, spoiler, on this episode.
Oh.
Haley Gerbies, Wes Hampton, Christian Larson, and Jerry Robinson. Thank you all so much for supporting us at the $5 a month level or above. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
We also have an email address here on the show, family@cageclub.me. And Joe, we got like 2.5 emails essentially. Nick sent a picture in, which
Okay.
we know what it is. I see the picture before. I was like, I don't know, because the picture came in first. Because normally, I think the way that like email sends, I would imagine pictures come in later. But like, I got the picture and I was like, I said to you, I was like, thanks, Nick. Like, all right. And then like the actual email came in, like explaining what it was. But I'll
Okay,
get to that in
okay,
a second.
okay.
Yeah.
I saw the picture and I was like, did we reference this at some point? Like,
And it'll make sense. But first up, from Wes, subject line: Too fast, too furious. What up, fam?
what up, Wes?
It says, wow, that episode was a lot. I can hardly keep up with all of Nico's theories and interpretations, but I love them. I don't think you've had anyone on the show who can so quickly switch between pop culture references the way they can, both Nico and
I
Kevo. I
agree.
know F4 is next, but I can't wait to hear their take on Tokyo Drift and how it fits into the larger story.
Same.
Joe, Mrs. West, and I also grew up watching Supermarket Sweep, and somehow none of our friends did. Since they put it on
What?
Netflix, we've been watching an episode in bed each night. We only have a couple left, and we're getting real sad, so I'm glad to hear there are more on YouTube.
Yeah, they're like illegal ripped old ones, and I don't know if Netflix took them down or not, but I mean, at least like a year ago, 2 years ago, there was some random episodes on YouTube, and I was enjoying those.
I remember, and I think we've talked about it on here before, that like when YouTube used to be bad, like when YouTube was just like 12 videos, like it was never 12 videos, but like there was like a limited amount, and now you can find everything. So like now, if you couldn't find old Supermarket Sweeps on YouTube, I would be surprised. You know what I mean? But like there was a time for a while where it's just like, oh yeah, there's nothing really on there.
Yeah, but if like Netflix like brought it back sometimes like with the copyright stuff and you know what I mean like
Yeah.
or like those old shitty movies, right? Like they'll be on YouTube that like somebody just like ripped and uploaded and like YouTube doesn't care about it until like the thing's like it's the 10th anniversary of it and then they like shut it all down and our soundtrack, the fucking OST of this or the score.
May it
Yeah.
RIP. Just to clarify, I'm pretty sure Bilkins is FBI, which is why he's in LA working with the LAPD, and then in Miami working with Customs. They're both joint operations with the FBI, which Nick writes in about too, so we will get to that in a second.
Makes sense.
I love Nico's theory about Tej being Frasier, and I get it, but I think Urkel might have been a better metaphor. And then he says, though, Nico doesn't really know where Tej is going, even though he guessed pretty close, so I get why he went with Frasier. Urkel was also a one-off character who became so beloved and embraced that he eventually became a main character. He's also a super tech genius, which Tej eventually becomes. The main
Good
difference,
point.
though, Steve Urkel was never as cool as Tej, at least not until
Never.
he became Stefan Urkel.
Yes,
Did you know he
that's
was so popular they went back and put Steve Urkel in cold opens for episodes he didn't even appear in? Can you imagine Vin Diesel telling Universal he wants to go back to F1 and add Tej? Because I can.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
I thought when I started reading that sentence that Wes was going to be like, can you imagine them going back and like adding Vin to like 2 and like adding him to 2? Be like, oh yeah, like I was in Miami. What are you talking about? I was always in Miami.
That would be so weird. That would be like its own fucking movie that like somebody goes back in time and just changes all the pop culture that we know. You know, like we were talking about like yesterday or whatever, but like imagine this, like somebody goes back in time and like adds people to these movies and like we're all of a sudden we're watching like Too Fast and there's like
Oh.
Han in it and you'd be like, "No, there wasn't."
So when the X Files came back for seasons 10 and 11, there's this writer for the X Files, Darren Morgan, And he not only played one of the most iconic villains, like the Monsters of the Week on the show. Like in
Okay.
season 2, there's this episode called The Host, where he plays like this fluke man, this guy who lives underwater and just like a gigantic like worm, and he attaches and like kills people, whatever. So he played this character, and then he also wrote like 7 episodes, I think, but they're like 7 of like everyone's favorite episodes because they're like super weird and super funny and just really good episodes.
Okay.
So one of the ones he wrote when he came back was about this guy who was like, I've always been in the X-Files, and they went back and like he superimposed him in like in all these famous scenes, even in the opening credits, like Mulder and Scully like slow motion open a door, and then like, he like pops in too. Like I don't know how they did all this like deep fake work, but it's so funny. And so like it's exactly that. Like it's like,
Yes.
oh no, like you don't remember when I was there on that mission? Like it's kind of like a clip show episode, kind of like a Rick and Morty or something, right? Where it's just like,
Yes.
oh no, I was always there or whatever. But yeah, like I
Yes.
think with deepfake tech, you can always put, they put like Nicolas Cage's face on Harrison Ford's in Raiders of the Lost Ark or whatever. But like I want to see Nicolas Cage with Harrison Ford in Raiders. Like I want to have them both, like just a wild adventure
Yeah, like
together.
from National Treasure.
Yeah.
But can you imagine, like, we go back and watch it, we're like, no fucking way that happened. Like, how did we not talk about this for seven episodes of this show that Han was in too? Like, like our whole world could just melt instantly. Sorry, I've been thinking about time travel again. Sorry, Wes.
He says that's it for this episode. Until next time, stay furious, Wes.
Stay furious, Wes.
Nick writes saying, subject line, say it right, brazzers, 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 lol. Which, are we saying it wrong?
I always thought it was Brazzers. I don't know. I don't want to Google the pronunciation of it right now.
Just listen to Too Fast, funny again. I want to push the knife in deeper. Joe, too, you were against getting even the logo. I think you said, quote, I don't want a car burning out on me. Just some more shit between family.
Yes. I'm sure I did. I'm positive I did. That does not sound out of character for me. It's just right now I'm like, this sounds like a great idea.
Then he says, talking about sleeping in Memento and just in movies in general, he says Letty sleeps in 4. In 6, Vin and Elena are in bed, and Brian and Mina are technically sleeping, or at least in bed together. I'm adding in 1 too.
Yeah, I guess we get some bed shots, but like, I mean, it's boring. Like, nobody really wants to see that anyways. And, oh, you know what? We get the whole wake-up sequence of Hobbs and Shaw, too. Like, when The Rock is cooking breakfast and stuff.
The alarm clock scene, yep. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of bed, I think, probably, right? There's probably a lot of beds.
I think that we probably just, like, cut it out of our brains because it's not very interesting. So it's like, what does it matter?
Then Nick has an interesting take on our, who the characters are, like who's Letty and stuff. He says, I think Owen could be Leonard from Memento. He could have had memory loss of some sort falling out of the plane at the end of 6 or in 6. It would clear up why he's not around for most of the movies after 6. I mean, he comes back, obviously, in 8 to save Baby Brian, but...
Maybe Deckard, Hattie, Helen Mirren all are Leonard because they just forgot that Owen exists in Hobbs and Shaw. They just don't mention him at all. So they all are mementoing out of that.
Wow. Yeah. Nick says, I like Memento. It was very interesting how they backtracked through it. Dark City, when I first started watching it, I thought it was very weird. I might have to watch it again because after I slept, I picked it up again and it was better. Definitely freaked me out how the aliens looked like Slender Man, which is why he sent pictures of Slender Man. Like, Nick, so I get an email. This is to set the scene for the listener. I get an email and Nick's just like, it's like subject line Slender Man. He puts a picture of Slender Man in there. I'm like, okay. Yeah.
And I was like, did we talk about Slender Man in some episode? But no, that makes a lot more sense. I don't know if I said it on the episode. Did I say it on the episode when I said that they reminded me of the vampires from The Strain?
You did mention that, yes.
But yeah, I can see Slender Man too. That makes sense.
I'm listening to paranormal podcasts plus podcasts from Dan Cummins, Time Suck and Scared to Death, and one that Chad Daniels and Cy Amundsen do together, Middle of Somewhere. So he was following up to the comedians he was recommending. So he learned about them, I think, from podcasts, or maybe
I didn't know Chad Daniels does one, but I mean, I feel like all comedians do podcasts now, right?
Yep.
Like it's kind of
pretty much.
Yeah.
Billikens could have been reassigned to Miami, or maybe he was originally from Miami and flew out to LA to oversee or expedite that crime because truck driving is governed by federal and state. But really, who knows? So that's kind of going back to what we were saying before with
Wes saying too.
Wes.
Yeah.
Yep.
If he's FBI, then he's bigger than that. That kind of makes sense. I can see that. I don't think they ever specifically say he's FBI. I don't think they really say who Bilkins and Tanner are. They're just like, they're the cops.
We could go onto the FNF fandom wiki, but like, we got time. We're going to do a Bilkins lab at some point, right? Why waste it? Why figure it out?
Exactly. I agree.
It's fun to not know things because, like, whatever. Then Nick says, it's been fun so far with Nico and Kevo. I even went over to their podcast. HTML is funny and starts with my other passion movies, Marvel. Plus, Joey got a shout out in it, and I was like, I know that name, LOL.
That's super cool. There you go. We can
Yeah.
tell them that they got a new fan over there too. See?
Yeah,
That's
man.
awesome. Spread the fam
It
around.
works.
I love it.
Well, anyways, talk to you later. Nick, Fast Force out. LOL.
Fast Force. Thanks for writing in, Nick. I'm glad that you like the Fast Force too. I can't wait to get through the rest of these movies with those guys. They're just a
Yeah.
blast. I mean, you
Yeah.
obviously hear it, but like it is so much chaos. Joey edits it down. Like it's just a lot of chaos.
Those are all the emails for today. If you want to email in, family@cageclub.me. Thank you, Wes. Thank you, Nick, for emailing in. I'm sure we'll be hearing from
Yeah,
Wells
thank you
soon
guys.
because we haven't heard from him in a little while. But if you have not written in a while, family@cageclub.me. And if you're shy, you want to write in for the first time, we know you're out there, family@cageclub.me. Joe, on the streets, Fast and Furious news, big one. Not really related to podcasts, but The Rock and a team of associates bought
Yes.
the XFL. So now the XFL is the official sports league of Too Fast, Too Forever.
Yes, it is. I've been a fan my whole life of the Guardians. Guards up.
Your whole life since it was first revealed, like in the middle of last year.
That was always like the joke. We have like a Facebook group that's my friends and I talking about football, and we banned all college football talk because like we just don't watch college football, so we're always like, no, we don't talk about college. It's like just professional football only in here. And then like every time the XFL or like the AAF or AAF would be on, we would just post like tons of nonsense about it, and they'd be like, how do you guys talk about this but not college football? We're like, because that's not professional football. This is professional football.
One of the final, I think maybe the last like real thing that I did before quarantine began was when Kyle and Brian had that live podcast double feature up in Yonkers, New York, and
Yes,
we went there and
I
we
was
went
there.
out to lunch. We talked about that, but like when his cousin Pumpkin showed up with like a Guardians beanie on, I was like, hell yeah! Like
I
people
know.
people spend money on this stuff. Okay, cool.
Dude, the XFL was gonna do decent. Like they weren't doing bad,
Yeah.
and the games were good. Like I was watching them; they were fun to watch. It was like, okay, there's no real football on right now, so like I'll watch these games, and they would play them like early in the day on whatever. And yeah, fuck it, I was really happy
Yeah,
with it.
they got hit hard by pandemic, obviously, but
Wrecked.
it'll be back, right? I think they spent $15 million in the league, which feels like a lot of money and also not a lot of money. So
No, that's nothing. But the XFL stopped paying everyone, so they have like all this outstanding debt as well. They're in a battle right now because like if you buy it even for 15 million, you're still like 200 million in debt. You get what
right.
I'm saying? So like
Yep.
even if they bought it for like 15, that's really like they're buying it for like 215. And they're like there's some kind of like again legal bullshit that we don't understand. That's like they're trying to say like no, it was like bankrupt before we bought it. We don't have to pay this, and they're like no, but you had these contracts and like if you own it, you have it. And
Any other news that you saw though? Anything else that's happening in the world of Fast and Furious?
Jason sent us a message saying that it's confirmed that they're going to use CGI Brian in F9.
No, he said archival footage.
Oh yeah, sorry. That's what I.
That's
sorry.
totally different. That's just like
I
old
agree.
clips that they've used before.
Okay, so that makes a lot more sense, and that's very believable. I was skeptical that they're gonna like try to put him into F9 using archival footage as like a flashback or something. That makes sense, and that would be fine.
Whether it's scenes that we've already seen that they're just going to repurpose or stuff that they cut out that they're going to use,
Yeah.
I don't know. But again, I don't know that I really want him in there. Like, I think it's going to be like a cheap, like if they, again, what we keep saying about everything, if they do it right, it's one thing. If it's just like a cheap ploy, maybe not. But
I don't. I think this could go a lot better than some other ways. Like just to throw him into a scene and like Dom being like, "Remember that time when I met Brian?" And then it would just be like a clip from the first one that wasn't in the movie. You'd be like, "Oh my God, there he is!" But like he looks very young, and they all look very young, and it's not CGI. You'd be like, "Okay, that's cool." I wouldn't be mad about that.
Joe, it's time for the Ana Lucia Cortez Leticia Ortiz Lost for a Minute, Season 2, Episode 4. Everybody Hates Hugo, a Hurley episode.
It is. By the way, I'm getting a little frustrated here.
Why? Because I'm having to watch slowly?
Yes, it's very frustrating, and I start to forget what's happening.
I was binging, not like you, but I was doing one a day, and then I caught up, and I was like, well, okay, gotta stop now. Like, you know,
Yeah,
it
it
was
sucks.
nice. Yeah?
This was a Hurley episode, which is cool. You didn't really get much more of her. Like this, the premise of this one is kind of like they're in the bunker. Hurley's taking roll. He's taking inventory of the food supply that's there, right? Because they have food supply.
Correct.
So everybody's like, "Go fucking do this!" And he goes and gets Rose, which I'm like, "Sweet, you said you love Rose. We only saw her once
Love
before."
Rose.
So like, I'm like assuming she's not just the lady on the beach once. If you really love her,
I mean, spoiler, she's not a huge character. I just love her. And now, with
That's
the
fine.
reveal in this episode that Bernard is there, we'll get to that.
Yes.
But we'll get to that.
Get like these flashbacks to like when Hurley realized that he hit the lottery, right? It's like the continuation of his first one. And I'm thinking like the way this episode's playing out, you're gonna see like, you know, shit start to crumble. He's gonna hit the lottery and everybody's gonna start asking for money and stuff like that. But no, it's like the day he realizes he hits the lottery, he just like quits his job, hangs out with his friend, nobody else knows, and it ends before it gets to any of the chaos. Like, it doesn't tell you why he's anxious about this. Like, you know why, but it doesn't give you any of that story. It just, like, leads you up to that, like, he pulls into the gas station, and they're like, that's the guy that bought the ticket. And he's like, shit. Like, everything is going to change now. Which is fair.
Because we've essentially seen his life crumble. In the last episode, you know, we saw his uncle have a stroke and everything, like, the bad stuff start to happen. This is, like, the last moment of happiness, right?
Yes. But I still thought it was going to be, like, the before that type thing. You know what I mean? That seemed like that was, like, natural disasters that happened.
Well, what I will actually say, so here's another thing, and this kind of goes back to our leftovers conversation, which I was glad to wake up to the conversation that you and Kara had about the leftovers, but, like, this is almost sadder in a way, because, like, when his friend finds out that he's won the lottery, it's, like, such personal betrayal that is almost more sad than, like, the crazy stuff that happened. Like, that's all terrible things, but, like, just that, like, oh no, like, I thought we were friends, right? Like, there's a deep sadness there, which is, like, heartbreaking.
You mean just, like, his face, like, when he looks into the car, like, dude.
Yeah, just, like, when he realizes that he didn't, like, he's been spending all this time with him, he didn't tell him, right? That just, man.
Yeah. I always say, if I would hit the lottery, I'm not telling any of you fuckers. You'll get a check from me in the mail, and I'm gone. Not because, like, I don't like any of my friends, just because, like, I just don't want to deal with that part of it. Or I was telling Rachel, like, when we were watching this episode, I was like, I want to give my money to someone that hates me, that's a very good financial advisor. Like, they have all rights to every... I mean, this is horrible and not a really good idea, but, like, somebody that would just, like, watch my money but never spend it and never let me spend it. And so, like, anytime my friend would be like, hey, man, like, kind of down and out, like, I need some money, I'd be like, well, we gotta call Steve and see what he says. And Steve would be like, get the fuck out of here, and just, like, hang up the phone on him. Be like, sorry, man, I can't touch it. Like, you know, like, I want somebody there that's, like a guardian of my money to be like, that's the person that says no.
New York guardian?
Ah! Yeah.
There is one more bit of Hurley. Is there anything else about Hurley you want to say? Because there's one more Hurley note that I have, but anything about the Hurley flashbacks that you want to talk about?
He asked the girl on the date.
Yes. So do you know her? Do you recognize her?
Yeah, she's the girl from Wet Hot American Summer.
Yeah, Marguerite Moreau. She's wonderful. I love her.
With the flashbacks, it's kind of hard, but, like, I wish she could be a character in the show, right? Because I like her too. The chances of that happening are going to be very slim because it's only a Hurley episode flashback thing. I don't know. Don't say anything. But
the things like the flashbacks, like the thing about the flashbacks, like I kind of know the general, like the broad strokes of the things, but I don't really remember because it's like
who the
I think
characters
the more
are,
you
because
watch
you get one
it,
every 7.
Like the flashbacks just kind of inform the characters overall. It's not like I won't spoil anything, but like the flashbacks, like they have different purposes essentially, right? And like this individual stories, like we know that she's not on the island or like whatever.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? She's not like a main character. She's just there to be like, oh, the girl that Hurley like was never brave enough to ask out, and now he asks her out or whatever, right? So I just love her from Wet Hot. Yeah, so I'm glad you recognized her.
Okay, but like to the Letty stuff, right?
Yes. Well, actually, one other thing on the island when Hurley in the dream in the beginning is drinking, he like has like his like heavenly like just gonna snack on everything, and Jin speaking English and Hurley speaking Korean. When Hurley's drinking milk, there's like the missing child on the side, and it's a picture of Walt, which I think is pretty funny.
Oh.
But it's a dream. Like, it's not real, but it's kind of funny. It's like a nice
it's like an island dream.
touch. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Okay, so now Letty stuff. And there's a lot of Letty in the previously on segment, like a crazy amount of Letty in the previously on segment.
But again, she doesn't have much going on in this episode. The thing that I like most is she has the gun again.
Yep.
She's like not really in charge, but she definitely has authority.
She's the muscle, right? Yeah, she's like Mrs. Alpha, essentially.
Yeah, which is very strange, right? Like she's not like playing along. Like she has some say. I also really liked that she was like very like channeling like Silence of the Lambs. Get the fucking ladder. Like it puts lotion on its skin as she like throws it into the hole. And I was like, oh, that's awesome. We know that Michael and Jen are up there, so hopefully like they go with her. Yeah, by the end of it, they go with her into this cave.
Yeah, we have answers by the end, but for a while in the episode, we're not sure how this all shakes out. But by the end, we don't have answers, but we kind of have like we're on the path to answers. Well, she punches Sawyer. I don't know if you know. Let's not skip over the fact that she clocks Sawyer because he won't drop the rock. Like she takes no shit.
Oh yeah. That's a good part too. Yeah, swing and hit. That's very Letty. I appreciate that. But they like go back and they're like, there's people in the tail and whatever. Like how many was there? There's 23 of us.
23 of them survived. Yep.
And then in the cave there is not 23 people.
There's like 6. I don't remember the exact number, but there's like 6 or 8. Like there's not a lot. And she's like, yeah, we're not all. We didn't all make it or whatever. But like, yeah, they've had a way worse success rate than like the main crew.
Yeah, well they're missing their doctor and fucking wilderness man. So
True. Yep.
They're what is it called? Like what's your like Dungeons and Dragons troop? What's the party?
This party.
Really?
Yeah.
Their party sucks. Like they did not pick the right like characters for this party. Like,
well, what I will say without spoiling anything is that I don't think we have his name in here. The guy who looks like their leader is a guy named Mr. Echo, and he is great. I love Mr. Echo. I don't know we get his name yet, but in this episode we know Ana Lucia. We meet Libby, who is the blonde woman.
Okay, yeah.
We also know Bernard, and we find out that Bernard is Rose's wife, or Rose's husband. So like we
But
kind
we
of
knew that.
start to get names.
She was so cocky about like him being alive. Like I had no doubts in it either. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
well,
she's like
she's spiritual, man.
when old women speak like this with like this utmost confidence in their spirituality, you don't deny it. I don't question it. Like if they're like, "No, I had a vision. You fucking do this. I'll do it." Like that makes perfect sense to me. So
the revelation that Rose's husband Bernard was white because Rose is black was a secret to everyone, including Rose. So like I don't know why. I don't know to what end. That apparently that's a thing that happened.
oh yeah, because I forgot this is like not now. So yeah.
Libby, who was played by Cynthia Watros, was originally written to be a character older than her in her 40s or 50s, and they wanted to have Jennifer Jason Leigh to play the part. And Jennifer Jason Leigh, if you know, she's like one of the stars of Fast Times. She's Daisy Domergue in Hateful Eight. She's the one woman in Hateful Eight.
Okay.
But she was supposed to be there, but instead it went to Cynthia Watros, who didn't think she had a chance of getting the part, and then she moved her entire family to Hawaii. Like as soon as she's like, okay, like we're not like no risk here. Like just go. So I think she's great. Like I love Libby. Libby's great.
I also just like generally like. How would you have handled the food situation?
I think what Hurley does is great. I think it's great. I don't think that's not what I would have thought of, but I think what Hurley does is ultimately the right decision.
The scientist in me is like, we can't fucking do this. Like, we can't blow through all this food.
Well, yeah, so what he does, through the flashbacks, we find out that, like, basically what you were saying before, that everybody's hitting him up for everything. Everybody knows he's a millionaire, just like, can I have this, whatever.
Nobody does that in the episode, though, in the flashback. That's
but
what
I think
saying.
he knows, or maybe we don't see it or whatever,
happening.
But yeah. We see in this episode, Kate's like, oh, where's shampoo? Thanks, Hurley, the best. And, like, Charlie is like, hey, do you have peanut butter?
Him. Yeah.
Right? And so, like, it's all the things, like, he sees it happening again. He sees, again, the flashbacks serve the purpose of the story, right? What he decides to do is just, like, we're having a feast, we're using all the food, which I think is, on the one hand, like, on the...
Well, first he decides to blow it up, but then they stop him.
Yeah, but the scientist in you, the OCD planner in me is like, no, we can make this last, like, let's not do this. But at the same time, it's like, we've lived on this island for 2 months or whatever, right? Like, for 45 days or however long it's been, right? We know how to survive. This is only going to lead to bad things. We might as well have, like, a moment of joy, like, a great night, and then, like, continue life.
After I thought about it, I was like, I don't think I could bring myself to do this unless morale got real bad. In a case that morale got real bad, I would have broken it open. But they didn't seem like they were, like, at the end of their line there. I would have waited until people were, like, ready to kill them, like, kill each other. And been like, okay, like, we'll just power through the rest of this food, have a good night. And then they, like, all gorge themselves. Like, they're gonna vom, dude. Like, there's no way they're
100%.
keeping this food down.
100%.
You're just eating, like, sugar and, like, peanut butter now and, like, all kinds of stuff. Like, you're done.
And I think it also, like, narratively serves the show better, because, like, they don't have, like, well, what do we have, what do we not have? It's just like, okay, we had all this food, it makes sense that there's all this food, all these rations from Dharma, and now it's, like, cool. Like, we don't have to worry about that. Like, we don't need to have, like,
it's done.
Use their Dharma peanut butter.
Case
it's just
closed.
Gone. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. I agree.
The Tailies are in a Dharma hatch, or, like, a Dharma hub or whatever, which I don't think like on the door there's the Dharma logo, so they found another one of those. The only other thing that I wanted to make note of in this is that I didn't remember, like, I know the grand idea of where all this happens, right? But I don't remember the episode to episode stuff, and I was worried as the episode began that we were going to drag this out for a while, because it seems like, okay, get the 2 out of the hole, get the 3rd guy out of the hole. Like they keep cutting away. It's like they're not really moving.
Yeah.
And then the next time we go, it's like, okay, now we're meeting character names.
We've been in this hole for like 3 episodes now. Like, I'm fucking sick of it. I agree.
And
with
you.
I
was worried that, like, it was going to have another episode or 2 before we get to the thing that I know is coming. But it's like, no, we're momentum. Like, by the end, we're just like, okay, cool, like, we're there. Anything else you want to talk about with Everybody Hates Hugo?
Nope, that was a good one. I like the Hugo episodes. He's a good character. He's really enjoyable. I'm frustrated that I have to only watch them spaced apart because I hate that, and like I start to forget shit. Oh, that was the other thing I want to say. Because we're watching them so far apart, Jin's wife, I forget her name, finds the fucking, or Claire
Son.
finds the bottle. And I'm like, what the fuck does it matter? Like, they're still alive. Like, why are they so sad about it? And Rachel's like, they don't know that they're alive. And I'm like, oh fuck,
Right.
that we just saw them, not them. And then like,
Yes. Yeah.
yeah. So I was frustrated with myself that I was like, dude, he washed up on the beach. Like, why? Like, he's back. Like, what
Well, and
does it
like what's
matter?
funny is that like we're even watching basically at like twice the speed of what you would have had to wait. Like you're talking about
Oh
like you
yeah,
couldn't wait 4 months between, but like we're doing essentially. I mean, not every time, but like two a week essentially, right? And like
yeah.
it's been a long time since early 2005, late 2005, whatever we're at. But
I don't know how people did it. And you didn't even have like the streaming to where like you could like on demand, like you could go
man,
back and
it's
like
all the previously on Lost. Like you just had to like really,
pay attention to that. Yeah,
yeah.
fuck. I hate these previously on shits. They drive me nuts. Like sometimes they'll tell you shit that's like you're like, okay, well now I know what the fuck this episode's about. Like,
Yeah,
cool.
I wish, especially in retrospect, like when I'm streaming on Hulu, like they cut that out. Like it's just like I don't need that. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like Netflix doesn't do that. I mean, it's a different. I know that it's made for Netflix, but like it's still like just man, cut it out. Just I know like edit it. I don't think that Damon Lindelof or whatever would have an
Who would
issue.
me, my buddy Luai, and Rachel would always like skip the intro to Breaking Bad because we'd be like, we don't want to know who this episode's about. Because Breaking Bad would do this too. They'd be like, previously on, and it would be
Yeah.
like from like 6 episodes ago. You'd be like, oh well, fuck. Like now we're gonna okay. Like now I know what this
Yep.
episode's
Yeah.
about.
Some shows do that better than others, and I don't remember. There's like one particularly egregious example where it's like, oh, remember this guy from like last season? Well, he's back. It's like, well, like, okay, I can now, and like he's probably gonna die or whatever, right? Or he's gonna kill. Just like
Yeah,
let's relax. Like I appreciate you wanting to catch me up, but like have a little faith in me.
yeah,
Even though you're over there like, well, why did they? Who cares about the bottle? It's like,
yeah.
but whatever,
Exactly,
whatever.
exactly.
So next week we are going to cover two more episodes of Lost. We got dot 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 and found. I don't remember what it was the first season. I can look it up, but there was another episode in season one where it was like Lost. Like they used the title of the episode
Oh,
as the continuation. So there's Lost and Found. I think they do like three times. Oh, In Translation was season one. Season one, episode 17. Lost in Translation, and there's Lost and Found. There's one later, and we're doing Abandoned too. So we're doing episode 5 and 6, and then so then.
we're doing 5 and 6 because she's not in the next one.
No,
I
no, no,
guess?
no, no. We're doing one per week. Sorry, or
Okay.
one per episode. So we're not skipping any, is what I'm saying.
Okay.
It's like we're
Okay.
not skipping anything, and then the one after that is the one that I've been saying to look forward to. So two sort of normal ones and like kind of a bigger one. So
Okay. Cool.
now the final thing to do before we welcome in our mystery guest that I've already spoiled, Brian Rodriguez of High School Slumber Party, is Joe talking about the Fast and the Furious minute 78, a minute I called Brian the Bastard.
I like it.
You bastard. You bastard.
Mia,
Get off of me, Brian!
Mia, listen to me!
Everything I ever said I felt about you is real. I swear to God. You have to believe me, Mia, but right now this isn't about you and me. Your brother's out there, he's about to pull a job and we're running out of time. Those truckers, they're not laying down anymore. And you know what? Maybe they'll make it through tonight, but every single law enforcement agency in California is coming down on them. If you don't want anything to happen to your brother, to Letty, to Leon, to Vince, you have to just get in that car with me right now. You have to help me. Mia, you are the only person that can help me right now. Please, Mia. Please help me.
In this minute, Brian convinces Mia to help stop or save Dom and the family. Off screen, we don't see her happen, but Mia gives in. Then Brian and Mia drive away from Race Wars. And so, Joe, for the second minute in a row, great narrative minute, bad minute.
For us, there's
Yeah.
it's all shot focused on their faces. You can't see anybody in the background in this one, not even a guy lifting a tire.
No tires.
It's almost perfectly contained, right? This is another one that like it almost ended like with just like the car starting to pull away. I was happy with that. Book ending of this one was good.
We see another, what I think is 17 fires, 15 in the master shot, and 2 in as the camera pans. So we'll see about that. I think it's harder because like there's more reflections. Like when we talked about it a couple minutes ago, whatever,
Yeah.
it was fire or torch or something. But like here, it's like, is it bouncing off a car? I don't know. I don't know what's
Fair.
happening.
And it's also kind of blurry because they're tracking the car. They're not like stationary. the camera's moving. So
the only thing I really want to talk about here, and I want to dive into it a little bit, is when we talked about this scene in particular with Nico and Kevo a couple episodes ago. We were talking about, they were like, I don't believe it, like it's not emotional enough, it should have been more. We're like, well, it's really about Dom and Brian. It's not about Brian and me, it's about Brian and Dom, right? Like this is the secondary, but it feels like Jordana Brewster is emoting in the way that she should. Like she is betrayed, she is hurt, she's scared.
I agree.
Like she's nailing it. Brian, I think, does care. So I got two questions for you. Do you think Brian cares about Mia? I think the answer is probably yes. I think it seems like he more so cares that he doesn't want Dom to get killed, right?
Yeah.
And do you think Mia believes Brian when Brian says, no, everything I've said, I mean, like, I do love you, I do care about you, but, like, we gotta do this now. Like, so do you think Mia believes that? And do you think Brian actually believes that, too?
When Brian says it, he means it in the sense that you're a very pretty girl I would like to continue sleeping with. I think that Mia sees that. I think that at the core of it, I don't think even Brian believes that he loves Mia that much.
But he does love, or he cares about Dom in a way that he did not expect to.
He's in with the family. I don't think that he has marital goals with Mia at this point. It's not like his forever woman, right? He's like, hey, like, we had a good thing going on here. We don't need to stop this. And she's like, you just told me you're a cop and trying to arrest my brother. And he's like, but everything I told you was true. And she's like, probably not. And he's like, yeah, I don't think so either.
And I think this conversation, I mean, directly it makes sense that, like, that conversation that we're going to talk about in a few episodes, again, with Nico and Kevin, with the conversation at 4, maybe you're lying to yourself, maybe you're not the good guy pretending to be a bad guy. Like, I think that kind of starts here. Like, I think that this is the first moment where she's betrayed and she's like, wait, you're not who I thought you were, right? Like, you're lying to me. And, like, you're lying to yourself.
And also, like, what can you believe after that, right? If he lied about something so crucial, you have to question everything else that he said to you. So it doesn't even matter if he does believe that or not. Like, she has to question it now because you lied about something so significant. So, at least one part of what you told me was a lie. So where does that stop? Where does that begin? There's a lot of overlap and gray area.
Anything else of note that you want to, I mean, again, I don't know what there could be, but anything else you want to point out or talk about in this scene?
I think that Jordana Brewster does, like, a lot of good face acting in this scene.
Mm-hmm.
Brian is acting with how close they show their faces and the shot for shot, like face to face to face to face. He needed to, like, really sell more facial emotion in this, and his reaction was, like, anger.
His emotion, which is not an emotion, is urgency, right? Like,
okay,
he's just
fair.
Like,
yep.
He's like, we need to go now. Like, I do care about you, or I want to keep sleeping with you, whatever the extent is, right? But, like, we need to go now. We can have this conversation. I know you want to talk about this now. We can't talk about this now, because Dom might die in, like, a minute. Like, we need to go now. He could even
do, like, we could talk about this in the car, but you need to get in the fucking car. We'll talk about this when we get there.
Yeah. So the trivia question, and again, like, when I watched it the first time, I was just like, I don't know the question, and I was thinking, I was like, I have one that I kind of like, and it's a little nitpicky is the wrong word, just what I use all the time, but, like, it's a very specific thing. But again, there's not a lot going on. But which member of the team does Brian not mention in his plea for Mia's help? Because in the quote, he says, if you don't want anything to happen to your brother, to Letty, to Leon, to Vince, you just have to get in that car with me right now. You have to help me. Jesse. He doesn't say Jesse, so poor Jesse. I mean, Jesse's maybe not necessarily... I think it's kind of a little bit easier because Jesse's maybe not always there, or he is.
Yeah.
Like, we talked about this
and he also got away, kind of.
Yeah. He even, like, he adds a little bit of emphasis on Vince. He's like, even Vince, like, if you want Vince to survive, I mean, like, who... I know that I don't care if Vince... But you might care if Vince survives. Like, if you want to save Vince, we got to go now. By minute 78, we're up to 87 questions on the Too Fast, Too Forever quiz. I've not seen anybody take the quiz in a while. I think you and I got to take the quiz, not on air, but we got to do it again soon because we have not taken it in a while. Or maybe we wait because we're not that far from the end. I don't know. But if you're a patron, the pinned post on our Patreon
How many more minutes do we have?
So there's like 106, but like 5 of them are going to be credits. So I don't know if we're going to have questions for those. I think we should still talk about it in some regard. Maybe we do that all as one chunk, but then we have the post-credit scene. So we have probably what we're going to cover, maybe 23-ish more. Like this lap we're going to finish. And then we got to go back and we got to do the deleted scenes probably, just to catalog those, right? And then prelude and then onto 2. So we're almost there, but we also, it's a while. Like we got a while to go.
Yeah, I think we could probably take it again soon. Maybe this weekend I'll take it again, see what I get.
Yeah. All right, Joe, let's take a break. Let's bring in somebody, mystery guest, to help us find our missing car.
I already said him twice. He's not a mystery guest. mean, dude, where's my car?
Where's your car, dude?
This episode's brought to you by... What? Sweet. This episode is brought to you by OnStar with Stolen Vehicle Assistance. A theft alarm notification can inform you if your car alarm goes off, and once it does, law enforcement confirms your vehicle has been stolen. OnStar advisors will utilize GPS technology to help authorities locate your vehicle. Shout out OnStar.
Well, shout out OnStar. You already heard him laugh. I was trying to save the reveal. Maybe I'll cut this out. No, probably not going to. This is a patron pick from Brian Rodriguez of High School Slumber Party.
It is.
We basically... So here's the thing. Nico and Kevo are on every main installment. We apparently have a contract in place with this gentleman to have him on every lap. I thought it was just on every lap, but now it's on every lap on the main installment. And he said that since we are violating that contract, that we have to have him on. Because I said to him, and Joe, you know this to be true, like...
I know.
There's not enough air in the room for Nico and Kevo and another person. And even though Brian's like an unofficial co-host of our show, there's not enough time and space.
You guys have heard the episodes. There's too much chaos, like, alone with that.
So
it's just wild.
He amended our contract, I believe.
We negotiated, but... Continue. Sorry.
No. And by we negotiated, you said, okay, then you're going to have me on twice. And I was like
I'm a big-time player. I don't know what to tell you, but continue.
I guess that's what we're doing. So with us today for his first of apparently 2 contractually obligated appearances this lap for his first patron pick, we have Brian Rodriguez of High School Slumber Party. Hello, Brian.
Hello. I'm a patron, so respect me, because it'll show your other future patrons how much you love your patrons. So I love it. Thank you for having me here.
I have plans in mind for future patrons at future times, or current patrons at future times. It's all percolating. We got nothing but time. But welcome back to the show, Brian. How are things in your life? Let's do a Foodie Films like 40 minutes of ramp up. Like, what's going on in your life?
Well, I'm just going to be honest. I tried to save this for the on-air stuff. My cousin this morning was like, yo, let's grab brunch. Like at 11. Okay. I'm like, sure, why not? That won't take that long.
Is this Pumpkin or a different cousin?
Pumpkin, my cousin Pumpkin.
Okay.
He lives in my neighborhood. And whoa, bottomless brunch. I'm feeling really good. Watch Dude, Where's My Car with a couple of bottomless drinks in me. And I'm ready to record, and we'll just put it that way.
So this is why you said before we started recording you're not going to be very professional, because you are brunched up and ready to record.
I am brunched up.
Oh, I like it.
So here's
that
what
sounds good, though. Here's
what I will say about Dude, Where's My Car, because when you picked this movie, Brian, I was upset because I did not want to watch this movie. So I did not hate this. I think it is dumb. And I think it is wildly problematic in ways that, transphobic and homophobic and just misogynistic and all that stuff. Yeah. I didn't like it. I don't know that I laughed even a single time, but I didn't hate it. I was just like, this is like, I think because, and I don't love him, but I think Ashton Kutcher has like a likability to him. I was just like, I can spend 80 minutes this way. Okay.
100%.
I have a startling number of Fastnections.
Ooh, I can't wait for that. I
can't believe, and maybe because I was like, I need something.
I know.
Like, I need something, but... So, Joe...
There's way more than I thought.
I don't usually task you with this, but please, if people don't know what this movie's about, what is Dude, Where's My Car about?
Dude, Where's My Car is a movie about 2 stoners that wake up and don't remember the previous night. To retrace their steps, they're like, okay, we're going to go and figure out what happened last night, and they... step outside their door, they don't know where their car is, and that's how the movie goes.
So isn't it obvious why I picked this for the Letty Lap?
I mean, it's a memory thing and a car movie. Yeah, it's perfect.
Yeah.
It's a twofer.
Twofer.
Yeah. Should be.
So, I mean, right off the bat, Ashton Kutcher's character name, Jesse, and I was like, holy shit, we got a Fastnection right there. Unfortunately, we don't have a Chester. Like, I thought like Chester might be tied in somewhere in the Fastiverse. As far as I can tell, it's not.
We should have a Chester, though.
It feels like an early movie, like a first movie kind of name, right? Like a 2000, 2001-ish. Yeah, Chester.
Yeah, I agree.
Now, did you know that the role of Jesse, played by Ashton Kutcher, at A+K on Twitter, go give him a follow, Jake Gyllenhaal auditioned for this role.
Ooh.
Oh my god, that would have been a wildly different movie.
Seth Rogen auditioned for one of the 2 roles, did not get it, and Jason Reitman wanted or was asked to direct the film, and he turned it down. So like, there's a lot of different sliding doors versions of this movie that are out there that like could be wildly different. I don't know.
Seth Rogen I could see playing in this, but he's also too much of an actual stoner.
I mean, Jake Gyllenhaal was in Bubble Boy, right? Like, he did some weird comedy stuff early in his career. I mean, now he's like a serious kind of like detective dad in a lot of movies, but I think early on he was just like, I don't know who I am yet. Like, let me just do a stoner movie. I don't know. And apparently Ashton Kutcher like hated this script, and then got to the tattoo scene and was like, oh no, I love this movie. Like, up until that
I love
point,
that.
he was just like, I don't want to do this. Oh, I can't stop laughing. Okay.
To go back in time a little bit, when this movie came out, part of the appeal, a part of why it was so successful, because at the time, maybe not now, I don't know how the ladies feel, but at the time, it was like two hot guys in the lead. I don't know their like translation to today hotness, but it was like, oh shit, it's Stifler and that hot guy from that 70s show. That's not that bad.
That makes sense. I think Ashton Kutcher was kind of like heartthrobby for a little bit. That makes a lot of sense because like girls love that '70s show, and he's obviously like the appeal, the sexual appeal in that.
He's the hottest guy there. Let's be honest.
Yeah. It's Fez and
Yeah.
Eric and him, and it's just like the other two are not meant to be like one's the lead of the show and one's like the wacky next door neighbor or whatever, basically, right? Like, and then there's just the hot guy. So yeah, like by default, and also by design, but by default, he's the hot guy in that show.
Yeah.
Unless you're into older dudes, then maybe Red. Why do I know so much about the show? I don't know if I've ever seen a full episode of that 70s show, but I know a lot about it. I know way more about it than I would say.
The four guys are Ashton Kutcher, Topher Grace.
Wilmer Valderrama.
Yeah, him, who I like, but like again, he was in position as the hot guy in that show. And then the dude who like is in a lot of crime trouble now, who I can't remember his name.
Danny Masterson.
Danny Masterson, yeah.
Yeah, he played Steven. He played Hyde. Yeah.
Yeah, so like if you put those four together, Ashton Kutcher is the hottie of that show. And he was.
For sure.
Before that 70s show, he was just literally a model. He'd never acted in his life.
Oh,
And
I didn't know that.
I don't think he's
Yeah.
a great actor, but I think he's good. I think like in this movie, again,
He's likability,
yeah,
like you said.
he's
for
charm.
Sure.
It's got charm, and I think
Charm.
even in this movie, between the two of them, William Scott is kind of just like he gets the runoff, and like everybody is coming to act like he's like it seems like the movie star of this movie. Like even in this world, he's like the hot one. He's the one with Jennifer Garner, which I can't believe they got. I mean, early, but like Jennifer Garner, wow.
Yes.
It's still post-Alias, Jennifer Garner.
Also, we got Marla Sokolov, who, Brian, there's so many high school slumber party connections in this movie. We've got
God,
Marla
yes.
Sekulov from Sugar and Spice as the other twin, as Charlene
Right,
Scott's
she was in
girlfriend.
Sugar and Spice. I totally forgot.
Which is like,
Right.
I feel like, Joe, too, you've mentioned that movie low-key on my podcast
So many
times, right? But yeah,
know,
no,
I need to
exactly.
rewatch it.
This is a movie that's not a high school movie. There's so many high school elements in here and so many like post-high school actors that it makes sense. By the way, this is Ashton Kutcher's fourth film. The three before it were just little tiny cameo things
So
in
this
indie
is his
films.
breakout movie.
Absolutely, 100%.
80 minutes is not long for a movie, but 80 minutes when you're watching something that you don't really want to be watching, 80 minutes can feel like a long time. And so I'm just clicking people's names. There's probably 25 or 30 like different kind of noteworthy-ish characters. Like there's like the 5 aliens, then all the cult people, and like all these different people. Like they're just the entire movie is them interacting with people that they had met the night before, right? And I'm
We
clicking
meet
on,
a
like,
lot of people for an hour and 20 minutes.
yeah. And like
do,
the
a ton of characters.
pacing works, right? Like there's just like a good
It's
flow.
fast, yeah.
I'm just clicking a bunch of names and like almost all of them, like 10 in a row it felt like, were just like, oh, Brian's covered 2 of the movies that this person's been in. It's just like every single person in this movie has been in high school movies. And I'm like, damn, okay, I see it.
It makes a lot of sense, man.
So Joe, what did you think of it? I mean, you said that you were worried on a previous episode that you used to love this movie, which made you worried that today Joe might not love this movie because 15-year-old
Yes.
Joe, I think he basically said, was like not smart when it came to movies. So what did you think about
No.
watching it this weekend?
When this movie came out,
Mm-hmm.
I was a 15-year-old kid smoking pot, right? Or no, it came out earlier than that.
It came out in 2000, so you were 11 or 12?
An 11 or 12-year-old is the same as a 15-year-old smoking pot, right? It's your comedy sense is essentially the same thing, right? So like I knew that like at 11 or 12, like me and my friends fucking loved this movie. Watching it again, I remembered so much of it, like the classic lines that we would say from it. Not even the like dude sweet ones, but just like
Well, like the no and then is just like I can't imagine how many times I've heard that in my life. And like again, I don't know that I've ever seen this movie, but like I've seen or I've heard or whatever. I know that
Yeah.
scene inside.
Oh my
and out.
god, 100%. That's the funny thing. Like, so I went out to brunch, I watched it, and I was literally sitting on my couch and being like, I didn't need to watch this movie.
No.
For some reason,
Yes.
I have not seen this movie since it was on VHS. By the way, it was
Same.
on a light
Absolutely.
blue VHS. It wasn't on a black VHS.
Do you
which
have
is
the back
awesome.
of the VHS cover to read to us, Brian?
I could if you wanted me to. I watched it on a baby blue VHS, and that's what it came with at Blockbuster. And I was like, oh my god, I remember 90% of this movie, and I shouldn't.
I know. It was like unlocked in my brain. Like it was Like when he goes, "This is how blind people shake hands." I was like, "Oh my god!" I totally like we said that so many times. Like we must have worn this out. It comes back to I saw like a meme or something recently. Back in the day before smartphones, guys would just sit around and quote Anchorman to each other for hours, and like that's what this like when you're in like high school at your lunch table, like we would just like play through this movie in our heads over and over and over again.
There is a real pressure, I think, as like, again, on the scale of pressures, this is wildly low, but like as a high school dude to like keep up with comedy, like I don't watch South Park, but I watched an entire year of South Park just so that like one day a week at lunch I could know what the fuck people were talking about.
And you don't share those kind of stories on High School Slumber Party, the podcast where me and some friends look back at our teenage years through the lens of some iconic films, Joey? Come on.
I mean, you haven't asked the right questions yet. You like give me juicy details. So here, okay, speaking of your podcast, meet Jesse, Ashton Kutcher, TV's That 70s Show, and Chester, Sean William Scott, American Pie. Two dim-witted yet lovable party animals who wake up one morning with a burning question. Dude, where's my car? Their only clues are a matchbook cover from Kitty Cat Strip Club and a year's supply of pudding in the fridge.
I wouldn't argue those are the only clues, but continue.
Don't take it up with me. Take it up with the underpaid film intern at whatever production house made this VHS cover. As they retrace their steps, these dudes are in for the ride of their lives, encountering hot alien chicks, dodging killer ostriches, and trying to score, quote, special treats from their ticked-off twin girlfriends. It's an outrageously sweet comedy adventure that's, quote, totally entertaining all the way through. Totally, says iFilm. 2001 color, approximately 82 minutes.
So Rachel had never seen this movie before today either.
Wow.
I know. And I was like, how? But then it also makes sense. Whenever she said she had never seen this, and I was like, but no, we are hot chicks, and like that was the first that's the first thing I thought of when I thought of this movie, because I think that's like one of the best jokes in the movie, and it still plays and isn't bad now.
So did Rachel like this movie or Rachel hate this movie?
She giggled at it, like in the sense that like I'm watching a movie from 2000, wildly outdated comedy.
Yeah,
you can bring you know what I mean, without nostalgia. So that's what. Yeah, I don't think that she loved or hated it. She just was like, oh, okay, I saw it now.
So Brian, each pit stop this lap, each of the not Michelle Rodriguez movies, but each of the memory loss movies, we've been trying to figure out like who our Letty is, like, and I was like wondering like, are they both our Letty? Because it feels like they're both, wake up with some kind of amnesia, some kind of forgetting. So do you think one of them is more Letty than the other, or are they both kind of Letty, or is neither of them Letty? And if neither is a Letty, then is there a Letty in this movie?
Jesse and Chester are not different to each other. Like, they could be the same person of the same... They have small differences. I think they're both the Letty, though, because they both are the ones who forget where their car is, theoretically. If you swapped a plot between Jesse and Chester, would the movie change?
No.
They literally date twins who are not the same person, or they don't look alike, but they literally date twins. So if you flip-flopped, like, angles between the two of them, that wouldn't matter. It's not like, oh, I'm the shy straight man, and I'm, like, the really, big guy. No, it's two guys who might as well be the same person. So both are definitely Letty in my mind.
They had one character, and they had to split them just so that you had, like, banter, and it wasn't just, like, internal monologue throughout the movie, right? Like, it's the same guy. You just have to have them together as opposed to him just sitting there being like, what did I do last night? Where is my car? It's like, to himself.
Yeah, that would be like a Memento, hashtag... things you've previously covered kind of movie, right?
Yes.
But like when it's two guys, it's just funny. If it's one guy, it's sad. Two guys, it's hilarious.
Joe, what about you? What do you think? Are they both our Letty, or is neither Letty?
Brian brought up a good point. I would have leaned towards Ashton Kutcher as more of the Letty because he seems to be getting stuff done, and Sean William Scott kind of just like is along for the ride. And I can imagine if Letty was alone in a film, she would take charge, be like leading the way through it. Ashton Kutcher's the one that like had the briefcase. Like, he seems like he has more agency, and I can imagine Letty's would have more agency in a spin-off movie.
So I was thinking kind of them both as Letty, and then I got to a scene where I was like, oh no, I've been watching this movie wrong. So we get to the tattoo scene, and I'm picturing this as the origin story for Hobbs and Locke getting their tattoos together. And I was like, oh my god, they are Hobbs and Locke. Not Hobbs and Shaw, Hobbs and Locke. In which case, Ashton Kutcher is The Rock, and Sean William Scott is Ryan Reynolds. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, I can see, like, wildly different movie, but now I see it, I get it.
That makes so much sense, yeah. I like that. I didn't even think about the matching tattoos thing from Hobbs and Shaw. I was so Letty-focused.
Lucas, wow. Rebecca Hobbs.
Wait a minute. Mind blown. So time out. Time out at all this. Time out at all the podcasts you've ever done. This is insane. I just realized Hobbes, obviously ancient philosopher. John Locke, also ancient philosopher. Did they name that Ryan Reynolds character after the classic debate of Hobbes and Locke philosophy?
Even as we go through the Lost episodes, and obviously John Locke and Desmond Hume are named after philosophers, well-known philosophers, we never put together the Locke and Hobbes. Yeah, wow.
No.
You're right.
That's insane. When you said that, I'm like, wait a minute, what are you talking? Oh shit! No, the Ryan Reynolds character. No. This is insane because people have classes in college based on Hobbes and Locke, and they're not Fast and Furious characters. So
now they are. So I mean,
now they are.
Revise that curriculum. Teach.
I feel like we just justified one screenwriter's assistant who put those names together.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah,
man.
fuck it. Someone finally got it. Fuck yeah, you know.
He's like, my philosophy degree is gonna come in handy now.
Perfect. Sorry. So what did you ask?
I was saying that you probably know this because, as you just proved, you are literate and well-read and well-understood and have a sense of history. Did you know they took this name? Do you know where the name of this movie, like kind of like not the premise, but like the name of the movie came from?
No, I don't. Tell me.
One of your boy, the late great Philip Seymour Hoffman's movies. Dialogue taken from The Big Lebowski when John Goodman and Jeff Bridges leave the bowling alley. Dude, where's your car? Where's my car, dude? Is from The Big Lebowski.
So we pointed that out, like Kyle and I, on either when we did the first
Foodie Films
time,
Man himself.
Yeah, the Foodie Films Man himself, or the second rewatch. I know we talked about that, but it was not like, oh, they must have taken it from that. It must have been like, haha, that's funny. This is in this too, kind of thing. Wow, that's crazy.
Yes.
Yeah, so apparently,
That's cool.
I don't know what came first, the dialogue in Big Lebowski or the premise for this movie, because that's another stoner movie, right? And like I can see stoners watching that movie and being like, man, that's a movie right there, and then they forget about it. Then they watch the Big Lebowski again, and they have the same thought, and then one of them maybe writes it down, and then they make the movie.
That's insane. I love it so much.
I love that the Big Lebowski inspired Dude, Where's My Car? Right? Two classic comedies that have never gone out of style.
And now it's featured on a Fast and Furious podcast somehow.
Exactly.
Speaking of Fast and Furious, a pizza shop, a pizza delivery is very Streets Closed Pizza Boy or Gallo Pizza. A lot of pizza references early in the Fastiverse. And Joe, I did not recognize him. I don't know that you would, but their boss, Mr. Pizza Coley, had a small part in Midnight Run. So he is a return guest, in a sense, to the Fast and Furious. Yeah.
No, I did not. I did not recognize that.
Again, that was me clicking on names, just being like, kill these idiots.
I love it.
Who was he in Midnight Run? Like, where was he?
I don't know. He's at the bottom of the front page. Like, before you click full cast and crew on IMDb, he's at the bottom of that. So he's like first 15 guys. I don't remember there being a ton of black guys in that movie, so...
No, I don't either.
Probably, an 80s movie, probably not a great part. I did like his character might be my favorite, because he's just like the only one in this movie who are just like, you guys need to stop fucking up. Like, please, get your shit... They're the only one. He's the only person in this movie who, like, wants, like, any accountability from these guys. Everybody else is just like, oh yeah, like, you're the coolest guys. He's the one like, no, please get your act together. And I thought him entering the movie was kind of like a breath of fresh air.
I also like the idea that he is Mr. Pizza Coley and he's a black guy, right? Like, that just is awesome to me.
Do you think, also, speaking of the name, which I did not think until you just said it, because I heard it, pizza, delivery to a classroom, Spicoli, this is probably a Fast Times reference, right?
Oh, I would say so. I thought that, too, because obviously... this dude's not an Italian man, you know? And they give him an Italian
that's what I was saying. Yeah.
So they give him pizza, Spicoli. I thought that too. I think you hit the nail on the head, Joey.
I will also say, I don't know if either of you caught this, because it was, again, one of those, like, blink and you'll miss it, but because I have the Fast and Furious minute eye, when we go to the pizza shop that they work at, we see the menu for, like, a half a second, and I paused it. The number 7 special, the tuna plate.
No.
Oh.
I mean, come on. Come on.
No, I totally didn't see that.
Just teeing it up here. Just knocking ones out of the park on this one.
So,
yeah, you're crushing it.
So while we're talking, I'm doing like a cross IMDb search of these films. So far, I'm on the first, The Fast and the Furious, with Dude, Where's My Car? And there's a couple people who are like in both films with their really obscure things. So the guy who played the French horn on The Fast and the Furious also played the French horn on Dude, Where's My Car?
Oh, like in the scoring, the soundtrack sort of thing? Interesting.
That's an
okay.
awesome link. Okay.
I don't even remember his name because I'm off that page already. But
Too late. Too soon, Junior. I also like, speaking of Fast and Furious movies, and one thing that we pay particular attention to, Joe, we always talk about who gets the fuck in the movie, and in the first 10 minutes of this movie, the old lady in the car says something about, like, fucking idiot or whatever, like when she hits
Fucking
Shirley and Scott.
stoners.
Yeah. I was like, is this movie rated R? Because, like, it's really early to drop that to, like, basically use the one that you're allotted, and no. And also, I'm going to call her out here because, Brian, I feel like you've tried on your show and she just shrugs it off. Fuck is not, like, you don't get away, like, Kate Hudson, fuck is not an acceptable, like,
I think
skirting.
her family told her that, and like that's the thing.
She
but
is
no.
preaching like it's gospel, though, on multiple episodes.
Fuck is not a thing. Yes, fuck. You say fuck, it's not fuck.
Don't fuck with the babysitter. It's like, no, Kate, like, what are you talking about?
Wait, so what is the theory? I don't know this. Tell me.
In a PG-13 movie, you get one use of the word fuck, which we talked about a lot in here. Like, you can appeal whatever. But in these 80s movies that that Brian and I covered, so we were on Adventures in Babysitting, and then the other one I think was Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead. Both of them have pretty clearly multiple uses of that word, but Kate's like, no, they use it once, and then the other ones are just fuck with an O, and Brian and I are like, no, that's not, no. Just because it sounds a little different to you, like in their Chicago accent or whatever, doesn't mean that the MPA is going to be like, oh, no, you're saying a different word, it's fine. Like, no, like the intention is still there.
And I think the rules have probably just changed, right? Like, doesn't that make more sense?
For sure,
They were like, oh no, it just cut down to like one.
But if
you're
in the gospel of Kate Hudson, in the one article on the internet that has proven her theory, it's like, no, like this is definitively, it's a different word.
Kate Hudson grew up in a Mormon family. She's clearly not Mormon now. She grew up in that environment, and they used to watch Adventures in Babysitting a lot, and I think they just like told each other, oh, they're not saying fuck, they're saying fuck. But to this day, she still believes that certain movies say fuck to get around the fuck thing, which does not make any sense.
But like the same use,
sense.
the same placement, the same context, like it just, they substitute an O for a U, and like suddenly that's okay
Now
with the
it's
world.
Totally fine. Yeah, that's weird. I think Brian's theory makes more sense that they just told her that.
Oh yeah, no, 100%. Like I think there's probably a lot more layers to that onion, Brian, that you need to peel back and just be like, wait, what is going on in that brain of yours? The last Fastnection I'm gonna do for now, and then Joe, I'll let you do a few, is that when Christy Boner, which is that really a name that we're going with? Okay, Christy Swanson plays again another High School Slumber Party past and future alumnus, Buffy the Vampire Slayer herself. Christy Swanson plays Christy Boner. The truck that her guys pull up in looks almost exactly identical to the Racer's Edge truck. It's the same kind of like shape, the same kind of body, the same kind of truck bed. It just doesn't say Racer's Edge on the side, but it's a red truck with that low flat bed. I'm like, that could be the Racer's Edge truck.
Is it a Ford? Is it the same truck?
I'm not looking, Joe. I see red truck, and that's all I write down.
Is it even on IMDb? I mean, car IMDb.
Which it should be, because the car is like literally in the title. The word car is said 62 times. The car in question is a Renault 5.
Let me see. Oh no, it's here. I got it. What's the truck that? Yeah, it is. It's the exact. You're right. It's 100% the same truck that Brian drives in.
Look at
Fast
me.
and Furious.
Really?
I'm
Wow.
like
You nailed it.
from way downtown, calling shots, hitting threes, swish.
You're crushing it, dude. Yeah, that's 100% the same car. Yep.
Joey, I'm going to ask you a question.
Yeah.
Is Joe 2 a 3-and-D guy? Like, is he like, in basketball we call him 3-and-D guys, like, hits that clutch 3, but then once it's done, plays hardcore defense, so you're like, you know, the other team's not playing. Like, is that his importance in this podcast? Is he that kind of guy?
No,
Or is he
Joe is like the 11th man, just like all energy.
No,
all
come on.
No, he's got a vital role. He's the first.
The
one
11th
up.
man does not have a vital role.
He's the first one up. He's always waving the towel. He's got the Gatorade towel in his hand. He's every time somebody. He's the one like, oh shit, like he just made it. Like I think.
No, I think come on, he's not 11th. I think he's a 3-and-D guy.
He's a
3-and-D
guy.
When he's on the bench, the 3-and-D guy's waving that towel for sure. But when he's he's in the corner for those threes for you to lob that pass, sink that three, and
No,
when
I see him more as like like I think he's a playmaker. I don't think he's a shooter. I think he passes to the corner.
you think he's more like a point guard. You think he's
Yeah,
more
I
like
think-
setting the plays. I feel like you set the more of the plays and throw the 3 pass for him to sink that clutch 3. That's why I say that.
No, I think I'm more of a 3 because I'm the effort. I think I'm more the 3-and-D guy, like Joe.
No, but the
sets me up.
3-and-D guy's not the effort. The 3-and-D guy is getting the glory because he's hitting those threes. The point guard's getting the assist for sure, but like
Yeah, the perspective.
Joey, I think you're looking at it from a coach's perspective. I'm looking at it from a fan's perspective. That's
Okay.
the difference between us.
I would agree with Brian. I think that Joey is setting it up, and I just get all the glory for like 3 seconds of greatness.
Exactly.
every
Like
podcast.
Joey's like
Yes.
dribbling it down. He sees Joe free in the corner, gives him the pass, sinks the three. We're all clapping like, yeah, fuck yeah, Joe too, the star of our team.
You know, as I'm watching basketball now that basketball is back, and I watch like the Bucks and like Giannis has like a double in the first half, and like he's got 3 assists, and I see him like feed the ball to like a wide open teammate, and they miss a shot. I'm like, guy, you're not helping Giannis get to the triple double by missing open shots. Like, you've got to step up and hit the shots.
Side note: I know this isn't a basketball podcast, but Giannis is the MVP, not LeBron. He's played 30 minutes a game and has the same stats. So anyway, continue.
Well, also he's like 13 years younger than LeBron.
Yeah, he's a freak. That's why they call him the Greek Freak. Anyway.
He's nuts.
Joe, what about you? Fastnections, what do you got? Still got a bunch more, but I'm gonna let you hit us with some. What did you notice?
I'm gonna get some of the ones off the top.
Okay.
His alias, right, is Smokey McPot. Little Smokey and the Bandit reference there.
Even though Smokey
Right.
was the bad guy in that movie, but yes.
The scene where he like reaches in to get the address from where the car is sold. Did that not remind you a lot of Gone in 60 Seconds with Nicolas Cage when they're trying to get the car from the impound lot there?
You're missing a more direct reference. That's a Roman flirting through the plexiglass scene.
Also true.
And failing
Yes.
in Fast 5.
Yep, exactly. That too.
Did I have another Gone in 60 Seconds reference? Hold on, while we're on this topic. Oh, no, I had an Italian Job. Job
Okay.
reference. At the very end, again, where the end of the Italian Job is like Seth Green with the speaker so loud he blows the girl's clothes off. Like here,
Yes.
the fact that they make their boobs bigger, I'm just like, oh, like the end of this movie is literally just, oh, so like the resolution, we just objectify women. Okay, with technology, basically. Okay,
Yes.
cool. Thank you, Italian
Alien
Job.
technology.
Yeah.
They have a locker, which was very To Live and Die in LA, right? Isn't that the one with the locker? Or which one did we watch that had a locker in it?
It was the getaway.
The getaway, yes. The hide the briefcase full of money in the locker situation. And ultimately, the premise of the movie is that they have to save the universe. And if that's not the most Fast and the Furious plot ever, I don't know what to tell you.
Ooh,
right?
yeah.
They're just aliens in this one, but they're saving the universe by doing like the smallest possible things to get there.
True.
And that's how Fast and Furious starts.
Very true.
Ironically, this film deals more with a universe than the Fast and Furious franchise, technically.
Cosmically,
Yes.
we are, they got to outer space before the Fast and Furious even began.
There was also just like fun like references like is it Andy Dick?
It is
that
Andy
who's
Dick
playing?
is in there. Yep.
Yeah. Andy Dick says I'm from Connecticut, and when they say they're sending the alien back, they said that we're gonna send her to Hoboken, New Jersey. And
So
I was
random.
like, oh, that's so funny that like I'm in Connecticut and we could send her back to New Jersey. So
Let's not talk about the Kitty Cat Club because the gender-challenged male is wildly outdated. But I will say that them tracking down hot money feels kind of like a Braga mission. Like they're trying to get some like hot money, some stolen money, some like laundered potentially, or some under-the-table kind of currency or whatever, right? So
Midnight Run.
little bit. There is a scene. So there's another cameo in this movie with Fabio, and Fabio
That's
is
it.
also Joyce.
This is the Fast and the Furious moment.
Joyce
Right?
Giroux. And this is a little bit homophobic because it's like, wouldn't it be funny if two dudes made out? Like, how funny would that be? But they pull up to each other at a stoplight, and I'm like, one IPO, here we go. Like, I'm
Yep.
no longer saying more than you can afford, pal, Ferrari. It's going to be one IPO, here we go.
250 grand cash. Brian doesn't know, so that was a longer scene. The like more than you can afford, pal Ferrari. He's like more than you can afford, asshole Ferrari. 250 grand cash.
255,000 all cash, one IPO, here we go. It's like, oh, that's a terrible version of that scene.
Yes. No wonder why they cut that.
Wow, I didn't know that. It's funny because Ashton Kutcher and Charlene Scott make out, and it's homophobic in a way that you're saying, Joey, because like at the time it was like, haha, two guys making
Yep.
out.
Yeah.
Now it's almost like progressive because like it was two
Yes.
actors at the top of their game, and like, we're gonna do this for the scene. We're not gonna be like, oh,
Yeah.
I'm not refusing to do that,
I retroactively think that as problematic as it was at the time is now kind of progressive, just like you were thinking. I was like, oh, good for them for like doing it, because we were just talking about Lost.
But there's a difference between like taking ownership of it and being like, look, it would be so funny if we gross out Fabio by making out, and like the reasoning they're doing. Like, I think the act itself, yes,
they're not
is
grossing out
progressive.
Fabio. They're just too dumb to
No,
realize
no,
that
no.
like
Like, no, the Fabio and his girlfriend make faces and drive off in disgust. Like, the whole point of the scene is, like, it's gross.
No. I don't think that the point of the scene is for it to be gross. I think they're Dumb and Dumbering it, where like they don't understand that like it would gross them out. They just think that like that's the next progression. Like if they made out, we make out. Yeah, I don't think that they're doing it to like freak them. They're just dumb.
I don't want to rationalize. I mean, it doesn't hold up, and like it's less problematic than other stuff in this movie, but still not great.
No, it doesn't hold up. But in the hindsight, I'm happy they actually did make out. They weren't like, oh, gays, fuck that, you know?
Yes, yeah, exactly. We were watching an episode of Lost, and Sawyer won't give Michael CPR, like, as an actor. And I'm like, what did he think was gonna happen? Put his hand, like, over it, and you can see, like, it's like it ruined the scene for me because I was like, oh, he's clearly just like faking giving him CPR instead of just like putting his mouth on him. Why would you make this acting choice? Like, I don't get it. But yes, I agree. I'm glad that they did go for it as actors.
Hold on. As patrons, as paying patrons, we can request TV show episodes?
Yeah, I've been pretty clear about that. Yeah, anything that like know. Sort of movie length ish or about. Yeah,
we chose Lost because Michelle Rodriguez. Yeah. So we're watching it.
May I ask a question?
Yeah.
What?
What's the next character lap?
Well, we announced the next 3 laps, as you know, 8, 9, and 10, and none are about a character. So I don't know.
That's so disappointing. So you don't have. When's the next? So I asked you the question then. When's the next character lap?
It'd be 2022. We don't know who it is yet, but it's not going to be next year.
Yeah. Why? What were you hoping for?
As a wrestling fan, you got Luke Hobbs in your arsenal.
Okay.
Woo!
You want to watch some Attitude Era
monologues? Fucking-lutely. Whenever you guys get to Luke Hobbs, Dwayne Johnson, and don't postpone it because I'm saying this, I'm going to articulate and craft a beautiful charcuterie of The Rock in his prime wrestling stuff.
I love it. With the DNA of the show being what it is, if we did The Rock lap before did a Vin Diesel lap, I think that like our chance of having Vin Diesel on the show, which is already approaching 0, is like actually 0. Like we have to do a
Also, I feel bad to Nate Milton, man, because he has his own Rock podcast and he calls us in for the Fast and Furious ones. We'd have to.
Well, yeah, we just return the favor. We have him on our lap. You know, it's different.
Oh, for sure, you got to pay patronage to him for sure. But like, you got to do it. You got claims to it too. This is a franchise that he's a big part of at this point.
Brian, I will say, just keep an eye on the feed for later this lap because there's got something special coming up for you. Not in regards to what you were saying, but something adjacent. So just keep an eye out.
I'm waiting till Too Fast Too Forever goes 4 times a week so that you could get to things faster.
Well, frequent writer inner and patron of ours, Wes Hampton, he always jokingly complains that episodes aren't long enough, and I'm like, look, if we make 180K a year on Patreon, we'll quit our jobs and we'll do as much as you want. Like we'll just whatever length you want it to be.
We'll curate them. We told him we'd cut them to the length of time that he wanted to choose. So if he wants 2 hour and 37-minute podcast, that's what you'll get every day.
So like now, 180K a year is $15,000 a month. And so we're still under $100 a month, so we're almost there. Is what I'm saying.
Yeah, it's close. I have the graph on the wall. That's like it's
like the thermometer, and like it's only a little bit of red, just a tiny little bit of red.
Yeah, exactly. Just counting down the days.
You guys have the most loyal fan base, the coolest fan base, the fan base that are so into it that like, come on, like get some more of those loyalists and go 4 times a week. I'm down for it.
Perfect. We'll get there. I'm sure we will
eventually. One thing about this, getting back on track, one thing I love about this movie that I've never seen in another movie is when they're getting interrogated at the police station, they bring in a dummy and they beat the shit out of the dummy, like to intimidate them. I'm like, I didn't laugh still, but I was just like, this is so weird. And I'm like, I appreciate like that this movie that is just about, it's a stoner comedy has like an original idea in terms of, it's just like, oh, I don't know what's going on here, but I love that.
Joey, can I ask you a question?
Yes.
What movie are we talking about again?
Dude. Where's my car?
I'm just joking.
Where's your car, dude?
It's one of these movies that, like, you could really have on all day in the background and absorb it and be okay, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Passively. You would just totally, like, you would just get it into your body. Like, you don't have to pay attention at all. It would just, like, absorb into you. You'd be like, oh, yeah, that's what's happening. I totally get it. The ostriches again. Yep, that makes sense.
Yeah. I made a note that they realized toward the end of the movie that they've been sucky boyfriends. I'm like, just like Brian is a sucky boyfriend to Mia.
Yeah, that's true too. They realize that they could change, although they don't seem to really change. They're like, we need to change and be better boyfriends. Because they're like, we need to be better boyfriends. We're shitty because we didn't buy them presents. Not the fact that they spent all night at the strip club, thrashed their house, apparently fucked Christy Boner at some point, and they're like, no, like, we're only shitty boyfriends because we forgot their anniversary presents, which we think we got and just left in
Well,
the
if you
car.
think about, like, having to date these guys, like, the amount that you have to be, like, they're already infinitely giving and forgivable, right? It feels like if the one thing, like, to commemorate their relationship, like, that's, a bridge too far. Like, they're forgiving of so much other nonsense just because you have to be. You're going to be dating
Yes.
Jesse and Chester. Like, at least, I can see, like, in a weird, twisted logic, I can see, like, why that'd be maybe a problem.
I can't wait to talk about, like, I have extensive notes about the cultural impact of this film. But it's amazing that with everything you're saying, how shitty of people and boyfriends there are, I just picture, what year did this movie come out?
2000.
Kyle says this a lot, and I laugh at him, but it's true.
The Foodie
like,
Films man himself.
Yes, Foodie Films man himself. Pre 9/11 and post 9/11, completely different worlds.
Yeah.
This movie does not come out post 9/11.
Yeah, that's probably pretty fair.
Yeah, that would make sense. I think so too.
This does
Yeah.
come from, like, a simpler, idyllic, we don't have
Like,
to
we
worry
won
about
the
things
Cold
time.
War, let's just do whatever the
Yeah.
fuck we want
Yeah.
kind of point of view.
Yeah, it absolutely does. In a really weird cultural way, I think that you're right.
Wow,
Dude,
yeah.
Where's My Car is the epitome of that, yeah.
I will say, in this movie, they learned to speak Japanese in one scene. I was like, they didn't even have to put ketchup on it or nothing.
Well, they got
Exactly.
certificates in it, yeah.
Tokyo Drift, yeah, Wabaki, they would know what he's talking about, right?
They'd get Wabaki, be like, oh shit, we're not wearing proper sandals in the classroom. Let's do that now.
Oh, actually,
Yeah.
my next note, Brian, is exactly to the whole, like, pre or post 9/11. Like, in this movie, one of the guys, the main one of Christy Boner's boyfriends or
Tommy.
whatever,
Yeah.
says to, like, at the end of the movie when, like, the woman becomes gigantic and sort of, like, King Kongs her way through the whatever, like,
Yes.
he sees her and says, like, the first question he asks is, spit or swallow? And I'm like, how is that in a movie? Like, how is that immortalized on screen forever? Like, oh my
I
god.
know. I heard that one this time too, and I was like, huh, like, that's what I was waiting for. Like, stuff like this.
Was there one other thing that I wanted to say? At the end, they get neuralized again. We've talked a lot, Joe, about the Men in Black neuralizer and wanting the Fast and Furious to cross over with Men in Black. We essentially have
Yes.
a Men in Black neuralizer here, which I thought was pretty
Yes, we
cool.
do.
The only other note that I made was that I can't believe, so, like, I don't really love this show, but I love it because of what it came from. But, like, the X-Files had a spin-off show called The Lone Gunman. And the Lone Gunman in the world of the X-Files are these three kind of, like, nerdy, dorky dudes who are, like, super into aliens, and they're kind of, like, Mulder's go-to resident experts in terms of all things weird and paranormal and, like, underground, right?
But they're like normal people. Do they know aliens or do they not know aliens?
No, but they're just, like, they're conspiracy theorists. They're just, like, real weirdos
Okay.
that are just, like, like, you're not seeing the real science, man. Like, I had lunch. Like, the first time you see them in the first season, they're like, I had lunch today with the guy who shot JFK. It's like, well, like, just, like, that kind of level, like, oh, I
Okay.
really know what happened on 9/11 or whatever, right? They had a spin-off in season 8 or 9, like, toward the end of the X-Files run, they had a spin-off show called The Lone Gunman. And in that show, I don't remember anything about that show other than this detail, but they have a friend who coaches a blind Little League or, like, Pop Warner football team. And they have, like, a football with, like, a noise in it, and, like, they just have, like, maybe it's not little kids, but, like, there's a blind football team in that show. And in this movie, there's a blind T-ball team. And I was like, did the Lone Gunman steal this joke from Dude, Where's My Car? I got so depressed after that. I was just like, man.
I don't think so. I think that those things actually exist, but they're not meant to be jokes. They're just like an actual
But in
thing
both,
that
they're like,
exists.
oh, look how stupid this is.
Yeah, which is horrifying.
So I have some trivia about this, but Joe, do you have any other Fastnections? Because I've run out of things to compare. Again, surprised that there are so many connections.
The only thing that so there's something that I really wanted from this movie that I think that Fast and the Furious should have more of, and that is breakdancing stripper emergencies. And I don't know how we've never gotten a breakdancing stripper emergency in Fast and the Furious, because that sounds like something that's right up Roman's
It's
alley.
firmly in Roman's alley. Yep, on the plane, at the the birthday thing again. Like, the
Exactly.
birthday thing had to have happened at the strip club at some point, right? Like, oh, he's doing the
Yeah.
birthday thing again. Yep.
I wish that there was a moment where, like, Dom calls him and he's like, Like, Dom, it's a breakdancing stripper emergency, you know? And then, like, that would just, like, a little nod to Dude, Where's My Car? And I think that would be awesome. I think that's my last Fastnection note that I got there.
All right, so let me do a couple bits of trivia, and then I want to hear, Brian, about your cultural impact. Unless you have any other thoughts,
Yes.
any other notes about the movie itself or connections to the Fastiverse.
I don't really have many connections, but yeah. Do your thing and then save it for me.
So here's the trivia. So they had a sequel titled Seriously Dude, Where's My Car? That was planned, but
That
never
was in my
developed.
notes too. Yes.
Again,
Seriously,
maybe-
dude, where's my car?
Again, pre 9/11, post 9/11. 9/11 happens. Like, oh, we can't make this sequel. What are we doing? What do we do with our lives?
The reason like they really were pushing for a sequel was because Ashton Kutcher had blown up once this movie hit like video stores, which is where it got like really popular. And Charlie William Scott too was like really big at the time. Like, oh shit, we have these two guys. Let's do a sequel. It's probably gonna make money no matter what we do. So that's why the sequel was really pushed.
That makes a lot of sense, yeah.
The story apparently came, we know where the dialogue came from, where the words came from, what's the Big Lebowski, but the story apparently came from a rejected live-action late 90s Beavis and Butthead movie concept, which I can't imagine a live-action, real-life Beavis and Butthead. That seems like an uncanny valley we should not do.
Sorry, gonna cut you off again, but you're absolutely right with this. Because when I did Beavis and Butthead Do America, one of the original screenplays was based on this. And if you look at the screenplay of Beavis and Butthead Do America, they're out searching for their TV, which got stolen. So it makes so much sense. That's like mind-blown moment, so thank you for mentioning that.
Well, you're welcome.
The live-action version of Beavis and Butthead could go really, really wrong.
That was the original intention of Beavis and Butthead Do America. They wanted to make
It was going to be live-action.
Yes, yes.
Oh,
I forgot who the actors were. I'll look it up right now when I get my soliloquy that Joey promised me. That was the original intention, and once they couldn't do that, they just made like a long episode, which is still a good movie.
I really enjoyed Beavis and Butthead Do America, but I liked Beavis and Butthead at the time.
Yeah, no, the original one, they were really planning for a live action. It was supposed to be, yes, so I looked it up right now quickly. Somehow they wanted Adam Sandler, Chris Farley, David Spade to somehow be Beavis and Butthead, one of the combinations of all those guys.
Huh. Okay. I don't know. Yeah.
Not gonna work.
Like, I feel like it has to be like teenagers, kind of, right? Like it can't be.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Think about it. They were all much younger than us at the time.
But if you think about it, like by that point, Adam Sandler's been in like 3 or 4 massive movies. Even if he's still like 22, 23, 25, you know what I mean? I feel like you need to have like that. That would be the Wooderson Award, or not the Wooderson Award, the Cameron Fry Award for sure, right? Like. The only other thing that I have here is that they ran a 4-year consideration Academy Award campaign using the line, "Dude, where's my Oscar?" Not surprisingly, IMDb says it failed to get nominated. But I like that they took their shot. You know, a 3-and-D guy all the way. They took their shot. They missed the shot wildly, but they got back and hustled back and played D.
Yeah.
All right, Brian. I cede the floor to you. Go, whatever, cultural impact, let's hear about it.
Please.
Where do you want to go with this?
So I just want to clarify, I did the math really quickly. How old would you guess that Adam Sandler was in the year that Beavis and Butthead Do America came out?
Was 96?
27.
So, like, I know that he played Opera Man on SNL in the episode that Nicolas Cage hosted when they had Cage on for Moonstruck, and that was 88. So I figured he was like 68, so he would have been, I'm going to guess 29.
Doing the math right now.
I think he was born in 68 is my guess. Well, no, I'm going to say born in 67 is what I'm guessing.
Let's see right now. I think you're pretty right, but I'm going to do the math right now. Yes, he's born in 1966.
Okay, so I was a year off, but okay, yeah.
So that would have been a lot of a weird thing to play, but whatever.
How old would he have been at the time in 99 then?
In 96, he would have been almost 30 years old for playing
Yeah,
essentially
so
what
you
has
were
to be like a
around
high
right.
school role.
And the rest of them are pretty much around the same age. Quickly wanted to mention Hal Sparks is in Dude, Where's My Car? He's not too much a name we talk about now, but in the year that this came out, he was a pretty big deal. He was on all those VH1, like I Love the 80s kind of shows. Wrote that down. Queer as Folk also. He's a star of that show. Cultural impact, Dude, Where's My Car? It's only going to take literally 30 seconds, but it's amazing how important this film was the year it came out. Every single movie that came out that was a comedy had a reference to Dude, Where's My Car? Watch the trailer for Harold and Kumar Go to White Castle. These days considered, and I agree with them, a much better movie than Dude, Where's My Car, right? The trailer for Harold and Kumar Go to White Castle spends at least a third of it referencing Dude, Where's My Car to get people to go watch the movie.
It's the same director.
Obviously, he was hot from that, but whatever. Regardless, at the time, Dude, Where's My Car had such a cultural impact. If you watch SNLs from that era, if you watch anything from that era that's like comedy, they're referencing this movie. And when I watch back and see this movie, I'm like, all right, it's a fun, silly, stupid movie, but like, it's amazing the cultural impact it made. I'd love to do more of a study of like what was going on at that time for people to be like, holy shit, I want to watch this movie.
To this.
Exactly.
And like it spawns all this other like comedy things that you were like, yeah, man, dude, where's my car? Yeah, no, that's weird, and you're right. Like it was everywhere. Like so many like jokes on SNL. I feel like probably like commercials, like Super Bowl style commercials, probably referenced it. I don't have any specific examples, but I feel like I saw it kind of everywhere like that.
No, I mean, it permeated the culture in a way that I feel very few other things have. Like, we've talked about movies both on this podcast and ones that I've done with Mike, where it's just like, you don't have to have seen the movie to know, and then to know Dude,
Yep.
Sweet Chevy, to know just the name of the movie. Like, there are things that just have become bigger than the movie itself. Like, I would imagine that, like, a lot of people who, maybe to your point, sort of from earlier, Brian, was like, people who maybe think they've seen this movie, but actually haven't. Like, I was saying to you, Joe, like, last episode, or whenever we announced this, right? Like, I don't think that I've seen this movie, but I had seen this movie. You know what I mean? Like, I know exactly
100%.
what this movie is,
Yeah.
even though I had never sat down for 80 minutes and watched it, because, like, it's just so out there in all ways that it's like, yeah, I know. Yeah.
If an alien were to come, no pun intended here, but
Hot chicks.
yes.
Hot chicks.
If an alien were to come down and be like, oh, cultural impact of things, be like, why was this so impactful?
Yeah.
Because it's such a silly, dumb thing. I don't think the filmmakers decided, oh, this is going to change society. In reality, I don't know if it changed society, but at the time, if we're like in June of 2000, I don't know, when do we know exactly what month this came out? Doesn't matter. If we're in some month after it came out, and I went to you and I was like, yo, dude, where's my phone? Everyone would be cracking up at the party. And for no reason, because it was from this movie. And that's the weirdest thing in the world to me. I love shit like that.
It came out on my 13th birthday, December 15th, 2000. I did not see this in theaters.
Okay, so really it's like 2001
It's a
movie.
Christmas movie, of course. As you can imagine, it's a Christmas movie.
I feel like it didn't really hit a stride until it went to like Blockbuster.
Well, so that's
I
what
feel like
Brian
it was,
said
that
before. Like
summer.
this movie had a $13 million budget. It made $73 million in theaters, but that's worldwide. It made like 30 or 40 domestic. So it did all right. Like, it did enough to, like, I guess, get the name recognition. And I think, to Brian's point from earlier, when people could rent it, that's where it lived. That's where it succeeded.
Yes.
That's where it thrived.
No, they knew what they had in a rental. Like I said, if you rented it from Blockbuster, it was a baby blue copy of what it like. What when you were growing up, what VHSs were not black?
Nickelodeon. Orange.
Nickelodeon. That's it. You're right. 100%.
I think maybe Goosebumps were green.
Oh,
or
that would make
something.
sense. I hope you're right.
Yeah, having a different colored VHS was like big shit.
Mind blowing.
Brian, do you have any other cultural impact thoughts on cultural impact, or do you want to watch a trailer and play a couple games?
You know, we don't need to dive too far into it. I just want your listeners to understand, like, when this movie came out, it was on the tip of everyone's tongues.
Everybody saw it. Just having anything that like the
Except
whole
for me and
country
Rachel.
has seen.
Except for December
Yeah.
babies, except for Sagittarius.
Exactly. But like no, Brian makes a great point. Like how many things that we see that like Tiger King is the closest I can think of recently, right?
Which
That,
I
like,
also still
everybody
haven't seen.
saw it.
But yeah, I think this also goes into my snobbery. Like, oh no, I'm explicitly not going to see this movie because I know that I'm not going to like it, and I know that, and by everybody else loving it, it makes me want to see it less.
Yeah, that's fair. But I'm saying, but everybody did fucking see it, and like it was everybody talking about it for like a whole summer at least.
So how about this? I'm looking up right now. Apparently the blue VHS was a Blockbuster exclusive. Ooh. So they knew their fucking market. They knew, like, oh, Blockbuster people, they're really going to like this movie. That's crazy. So if you bought it, like, to have as your own, it was still black. But if you rented it at Blockbuster, it was blue.
Do you think people, and I think the answer is yes. Do you think that people bought it and then were like, oh, I want to have the blue, and then they would rent it anyway?
Maybe.
Yeah, but you wouldn't see because didn't Blockbuster keep all of the actual VHSs behind the counter, and you just brought up the box, right?
Depends on the era. Eventually they did that because they got so many more movies that it was just... But I think when this came out, it was still like you would just take the Blockbuster-looking case of it and then bring it to the top.
So you could have opened it and been like, oh shit, it's blue, and then closed it. Part of the appeal, like why that would be so cool is if you were at the wall in Blockbuster and you would have opened it, you'd have been like, holy shit.
No, because I remember renting it and not knowing till I got home that it was blue.
Ooh.
Feels like a weird choice then. Cool. Like, why bother?
Sure.
But I would still, if I bought a copy of this, I would buy the blue one.
Yeah, like you're both thinking like it's so cool, but like if you don't see it until you get home, like what's the point? Like it's not viral marketing.
You know why bother, Joey? You want me to answer your question?
Because you're still talking about it 20 years later?
100%. I
He has a point.
still remember it. Yeah.
I wonder if you can go eBay, dude. Where's my car? Blue VHS. If you can buy.
Yeah.
You found it on eBay?
2 VHS lot. No, it's just everybody's just. Hold on. Let me see. Instead of Blockbuster VHS, let's see this.
Because I see a lot of blacks available, but not a lot of the blue. Because I think it was rare.
I don't know.
I've seen some Google images of it, but not for sale. Because the re-release is clearly a black VHS because they didn't care at that point.
Let's watch the trailer. If you guys are ready.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm good for it.
Okay, go ahead. Whenever you're ready. Go.
All right. 3, 2, 1, play.
Last night,
20th century.
I can't imagine how frenetic this is. It already is. You know what I mean? Like, it's just...
Yeah, it's super fast.
but this morning,
Oh, I forgot about all of his skateboard stickers. It's like, it reminds me of Brian's room in The Racer's Edge.
can't remember a thing.
They can't remember a thing.
There's Christy Boner.
Oh, it is.
Just like Letty.
I had a really good
Yeah.
time with you last night.
Have you seen my car?
See?
The back seat.
What?
She definitely slept with him.
I'm talking about the whole thing.
And they're like, no,
Well,
we're
no, they
shitty
talk about like
boyfriends.
how he felt her. He paid her $500 for her to show him her boobs. Like that doesn't necessarily mean they slept together, but like, you know.
She said she saw the back seat.
Is to find
That
out
was the
That's
big deal of
implied.
the trailer. You were like, oh, shit.
who they did it to.
Yep.
Oh, so
God.
the
They left that
transphobia
joke
is
in.
in the trailer. Very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, we didn't
we're
really
gonna see
talk
this
a
too.
lot about the homophobia, like the two. Like, oh, they're gay, they're twins, haha, they're German.
He doesn't know anything.
Yeah.
We are the recipients of instructions from outer
Okay, they get kidnapped in
Oh,
the van.
Marilyn Rice Cup. Shout out to Marilyn Rice Cup. She's wonderful from Mr.
Oh,
Show.
yeah, that's right.
Uranus?
From a lot of things. People might also know her, I think, as Chloe on 24, but she's done a lot of things that are like way, way funnier.
I don't know why.
Perhaps
She's
we will
wonderful.
give you pleasure
That's us. Right here.
if you give us the continuum transfunction.
They keep mentioning like how those girls have like very large fake breasts, and they don't. Throughout the movie, they're like constantly commenting on them.
The ultimate.
Joey, I don't think you're going to appreciate this, but Joe, too, I'm going to give you a little lesson in anatomies of
What?
well, people liked. So in that era, it was like, oh, skinny women with like this. But like lately, that's not the case. People like a curvy lady. I'm not agreeing
They do.
with it or not agreeing with it. I'm not putting my opinion on what it is, whatever. But the aesthetic, sadly and not appropriately, the aesthetic of what is hot has changed exponentially. I'll just leave
Oh,
it
for
at
sure.
that.
Can't believe you said that entire thing over the tattoo scene. One thing I'm surprised that we don't have in the trailer is the and then. Like, there's no and then in here, which I was
That's true.
surprised.
Yeah,
That is
well, they
true.
saved the good jokes, Joey. Come on.
But Dude and
Yeah.
Sweet is definitely in the trailer.
Oh, there's a lot of
Yeah.
dude and sweet.
If the two of you woke up with Dude and Sweet tattoos on your back, would you laugh or be disappointed?
Oh no, I would be wildly disappointed. I would
I would
I would
laugh.
be so angry.
I would be totally fine with that. Even if it was like on my like arm, like if I got it like Dude and Sweet tattooed down my forearms, and I woke up with that, I'd be like, oh man, that was a terrible
I would give
decision.
anything for you guys to wake up on your back for just
Well,
Dude
we
and Sweet
have
tattoos.
we have now, Brian. There's like
Yeah.
an ongoing Joe is wrong world tour where
Yes.
laps and laps ago, I was like, hey, we should get Too Fast, Too Forever infinity symbol tattoos. I'll make this. This will be my first tattoo. It'll be great. And Joe says, no, fuck infinity symbols. I'm never putting one on my body. No. Bad idea.
Yes.
Never.
It's like the most basic tattoo.
So I bring it
ever.
up
I can't
like a month
agree
ago,
with
or
it.
he brings it up a month ago, like, oh, that'd be a cool tattoo. I was like, no. You can't just like, this is not your idea. I posed this to you like a year ago, and you said it was dumb. You're like, I don't remember this. And we've had like 3 different people email him like, oh no, here, basically all but like, here's the timestamp of when you said it was a bad idea. But they're like, it was this episode, it was this conversation, you said it was dumb, and like finally.
Yeah.
In all the dumb arguments we've had on the show, it's the one where we have like a definitive, like, one way or the other, like, we have an answer.
I was wrong for sure. I definitely was very against it at the beginning, and I'm very for it now.
And I am,
So, yes.
I've given up that ghost. And now, so like now, that's explicitly why, like, if my first tattoo was a dude or a sweet tattoo, I would be like, what the fuck? No, just stop it. No.
That's fair. If it's your first tattoo, it's a different story. But
Right.
like if it's one of your tattoos,
I would only regret this if I got it after the movie came out. If I got it now, it would be funny to me. But if I would have if I would have lived through the time where like this was really funny, and then now it's people are like, what does that even mean? You know, like you like have like TikTok kids asking you what this tattoo means. I'd be like, oh god, I feel so old and weird now. And also the movie like obviously doesn't hold up well.
No.
Yeah, so
I don't think we hit on that enough here. If this was a whistle thinking episode, that's what it all would be about. This movie is not a great 2020 movie. It's homophobic. It's sexist. There are so many bad things in this film.
Looking at that, if you got the tattoo more recently, you'd be like, I wouldn't be as disappointed in myself because the tattoo is so stupid.
Honestly, if I was at a party with you and you took your shirt off and it said dude on your shoulders, it would make my year. It really would. I would see that, but oh my god, that's awesome.
Exactly. But only to like the people that would be like, oh, you remember. And it would have to be kind of fresh. Like if it was like really worn and
then I'd be like, what happened, dude?
Yeah, you'd be like, bro, did you really like that movie like that hard back in the day? And you'd be like, yeah, man, it was kind of my favorite. You'd be like, oh.
All right, it's time for the letterbox game. So, Brian, do you know how the letterbox game works, or are you new to the letterbox game?
I've kind of brought some of it to Brian, I think, a little bit.
This is going to quiz
ways.
Brian's literacy with the show, if he's fallen behind or if he's up to date.
I know how it works. I've never played it. We'll put it that way.
Okay. For reference sake, Mad Max Fury Road, possibly the most popular film on Letterboxd, has been logged 609,000 times. 609,000 times. Dude, Where's My Car from 2000, directed by Danny Lehner, starring Ashton Kutcher, Sean William Scott, and Jennifer Garner, has been seen how many times?
Brian, you can have first guess, because you already guessed.
I have no idea.
Oh, this is a stupidly impossible game.
That's the whole point.
It's
under 609,000. That's the scale that you use.
And higher than 1, which is what I,
Yeah.
140,000 times.
140. Okay. Joe?
I'm gonna go 75,000.
Lower than both.
What?
Because it's rated too, Brian. You have to remember it's like they logged that they saw it. So this movie came out way before Letterboxd existed. So somebody had to revisit it and say, also, I watched this.
Okay, so what's the amount? Tell me.
No,
you gotta guess again. You gotta guess again.
43,000.
43,000. Brian, what's your guess? Joe said 75, so it's under 75. Joe said 43 this time.
20,000.
Higher than both, so between 43 and 75. One more guess.
52.
63.
Brian is closest, but he did go over 59,654. Letterboxd just rounds to 60,000. 60,000 people have logged Dude, Where's My Car on Letterboxd.
That's crazy, because if like this kind of movie with this popularity comes out today, a lot of people would have logged it.
Yeah, but like to Joe's point, it's like they have to basically, since whenever Letterboxd was created, which is back in like I think I started an account, but didn't really start using it like in 2014 maybe. So it's been around for a while, but not 2000. Like people have to go back and actively watch this movie and like review it, right? So it's
or
not
just
like
log it. Yeah.
I've been discussing actually movies from 2000 a lot, like just talking with friends, because it was a huge, very impactful for me, but also a huge year for movies. I guarantee the top 10 movies that people know today, Dude, Where's My Car was probably watched more than a lot of the movies that people think associate with 2000.
There's actually, adjacent to this show and adjacent to your show, and adjacent to what I'm about to talk about, but Walt Hickey of Numlock News had a guy on his, like, he wrote about this thing, but he also had like a long form thing on Sunday. This guy, I don't remember what the website is, but there's a website out there that like they were quizzing people on their music comprehension from the 70s, 80s, 90s, and 2000s, and they're trying to figure out like which generations, but not doing, to your point, Brian, the most popular songs, or the most popular, in this case, movies, but the actual top 10 songs of each year. And so the songs that charted it in that year, if people recognize it, like if they're like, because you could mark one of like 5 things, like I know this song and I love this song, like I'm singing along, I'm pretty sure I know it, but I don't know the words. It kind of sounds familiar. I don't know this, or I've never heard this in my life. Like there's like a scale, right?
Okay.
The whole point of the thing was like, what songs actually stay in the cultural conversation and what just drop off altogether. And I think to your point, like there are movies that like were blockbusters back then that like everybody in the world saw, but like nobody thinks about anymore. And then movies like this that maybe weren't as successful, but people that still stick around for like
forever.
Dumb quotes and whatnot.
If we were just like all mathematical brained, we'd be like, oh, the number one movie of 2000 is going to be the movie that everyone remembers the longest. But that's definitely not the case. Some things translate so much more in culture than other things. There's like the moment in time you're living in and the stay power of other films. And I'm fascinated with that.
Yeah.
You know, what year is it? 2020, right? Like we've had a lot of 20th anniversaries of things. One of them is Almost Famous, which came out in 2000.
Okay.
Almost Famous now is like... Almost Famous, when it came out, great. Okay, nominated for Academy Awards, but Almost Famous now is in a lot of people's top 5 favorite movies. I guarantee you, in 2000, Almost Famous, people knew Dude, Where's My Car more than Almost Famous, as crazy as that is.
Probably.
That's like the plain example to me of how time changes things, and in terms of like... My cousin, who's like 25, if I've told him, oh, do you know this movie, Dude, Where's My Car? They'd be like, yeah, I saw that once. Do you know this movie, Almost Famous? Yeah, like one of the greatest movies of all time. That's how it is, but in 2000, it wasn't like that.
No, Dude, Where's My Car was everywhere, and nobody knew it. I mean, like, Almost Famous wasn't as famous, yeah.
On Box Office Mojo, the domestic box office for the year 2000, in order, just quickly, How the Grinch Stole Christmas, #1, Mission Impossible 2, Gladiator, The Perfect Storm, Meet the Parents, X-Men, Scary Movie, What Lies Beneath, Dinosaur, and Erin Brockovich, right? So, like, some big movies that's still around, but, like, nobody's talking about The Perfect Storm anymore. Nobody's really talking, like, Gladiator is kind of just like a, oh, that's a great movie. But then if you look on Letterboxd, the most popular films are Memento, American Psycho, Requiem for a Dream, Gladiator, and then, like, 7th or 8th is Almost Famous, right? So, like, it's a different ballgame. Like, the things that held up were, and again, this is to a very specific film nerdy kind of thing, but like Christopher Nolan, the Christian Bale stuff, the Almost Famous, the first X-Men, like...
Almost Famous is a bad example because I feel like it goes through both mainstream and Letterboxd people, but like, look at the top Letterboxd films. Were they even in the discussion in 2000? No. That's insane. Wow, I love that.
Yeah.
So now back to the Letterboxd game. Speaking of Letterboxd, so out of those 60,000 people who have logged this movie on Letterboxd, average score 2.5, most common rating a 3, then a 2, then a 2.5. How many people out of those 60,000 have this in their top 4 favorite movies?
I gotta go like 17.
Okay, and Brian?
I was going to go 40, but I feel weird.
Well, Brian, stick with 40 because the answer is 38. 38
Yes,
people
yes.
have
Good
this in
guess,
their
brother.
top 4. So now I found Quentin Martin at Mecharodzilla on Letterboxd.
Mecharodzilla.
Yep.
Okay.
So he has this in his top 4 of all time, even though he only gave it 4.5 stars. He says
He hates movies. He hates life, I
Probably
guess.
my all-time favorite comedy. A lot of people overlook this one as just one of those shitty early 2000s comedies that has nothing really going on. I've watched this movie countless times and can tell you there's much more going on than a casual viewer could possibly notice.
Oh God, this is
4.5
the Rick
stars.
and Morty. This is the Rick and Morty moment. You can't understand the nihilism in Rick's. Oh God. Okay,
Basically.
go ahead, continue.
So in his top 4, we have Dude, Where's My Car is his 4th favorite movie of all time. His top 3, and I mostly picked this because the review, I was like, oh boy, that is a good review. But the number 1 movie, Brian, is a movie you covered on the podcast you did with the Foodie Films man himself. Not a movie that Philip Seymour Hoffman has a huge role in, but has a noteworthy, memorable role, and he has worked with this director. He had worked with this director a handful of times.
Interesting.
Can you guess what this movie is? The point of this
I
is not to
can't.
guess these top 4, giving like weird, unhelpful hints.
He worked with this director. I'm assuming it's a P.T. Anderson. But
We got a few ones to guess.
he wasn't in a lot of the film.
I don't remember. I don't know that he was in a
It
lot of the
should
film.
be Boogie Nights, but the only film that P.T. Anderson.
Well, it is Boogie Nights. Does
Okay,
he have a
Boogie
bigger
Nights.
role in Boogie Nights? I thought he had a smaller role in Boogie Nights.
Boogie Nights is so long that like he has at least like 40
Okay.
minutes on camera. So like in theory that's long, but like in the movie it's not. If that makes sense. So
Yep,
Boogie
that's
Nights,
fair.
that makes
Okay,
sense.
So now, numbers 2 and 3 are both movies from the 80s. They're both kind of, sort of action movies from the 80s. The number 3 movie was, Joey, there's no way you're going to remember this, but I talked about how when we did the best action movies of the 80s bracket, this was a movie that that this one guy in particular got mad at us on Twitter for including. He's like, this is not action. He's like, whoever decides these movies like has to get their head checked or whatever. We're like, dude, why are you gangbanging on bacon? Like, calm down. It's a fun thing. So this movie is not really an action movie. I think it's more a horror movie than an action movie.
Is it The Thing?
It is The Thing.
I get real enjoyment out of people getting angry about stuff on the internet that, like, for no reason.
Yeah.
Like, this guy's whole morning was ruined because you included The Thing in a top action movies list.
Yeah. Yeah. And then
Exactly.
the number 2 movie has, what I will say, this is the only hint I'm going to give for now, has the best handshake in movie history.
I assumed this guy liked Predator, so I'm assuming it's Predator.
It is Predator. Are you?
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, good guess, Brian. Wow.
Why'd you assume this guy liked Predator?
Because like the way you said 80s movies, I forgot, there was one thing you said that I'm like, this dude probably likes Predator.
Yeah, you knew it was an 80s action movie with the best handshake. And, like, Joe, do you know the handshake I'm talking about?
Before the handshake, though, what was the movie
Oh.
before it, you said?
Maybe just the fact that he's Mecha Rodzilla? But yeah, I don't know.
And the thing was
The
in
Thing?
it too.
The Thing, yeah, you have, like, I kind of feel like I'm trying to put myself in this guy's shoes, and Predator felt correct, because, like, Predator is an awesome movie, but it's also funny as fuck, you know, if, like, you take it out of certain context. If you like Dude, Where's My Car, you're probably gonna, not probably, but, like, I could see you liking Predator.
Interesting line to draw, but I appreciate it. I respect it. Thank you.
Yeah, it works.
Now, the final thing, we don't normally do this, but I don't know how we can do Dude, Where's My Car and not play Dude, What's My Car? We don't normally do these in the pit stops, but I think we have to. Like, we can't
You
not.
have to, come on. I assumed it was
we have
happening
to.
today, yeah.
Dude, what? My car. What? Your car, dude.
So now, Brian,
Okay.
do you want to help me give clues, or do you want to help
Absolutely.
Joe guess?
I love clue giving, so
Okay, so
send
let
me
me-
that
okay,
message
forward
on
you
the
an
side.
From Jerry Robinson, rolling with car pics, just says, hey guys, another car pic, and he sends the picture. So, Joe, it is yellow, and when I did a
Okay.
reverse image search, I think it's a 2021 model, so I think this is a brand new car.
Okay.
It is
It's certainly
Italian.
the style of a brand new car, we'll put it
Yes.
that way. It's certainly this decades of styling.
It
Okay.
is yellow, like I said. It is,
Yeah.
I think, commonly referred to as a crossover SUV.
Okay.
Barely.
It kind of looks like a Bumblebee, but not Bumblebee. A Bumblebee, not Bumblebee. So it's not a Camaro, but it kind of looks like a Bumblebee, or like a honeycomb, maybe.
That's more
Okay.
that's more accurate.
Oh, can I guess what it is?
Yeah.
Yes.
The Lamborghini Urus, the
Oh my
It is
god, the
Lamborghini
fastest.
Urus.
That was insane. You got that correct. Oh my
Does
god.
that have an iconic grill?
honeycombing. He said crossover SUV and then the honeycomb part.
Man,
And it's new.
I think I'm getting too good at this game. Is what I'm. You know, you might be getting the clues right, but like.
That's why you need your guests to just say the clues. Not necessarily me, but you need someone to be like imagine a Kate Hudson who's like, it's yellow, there's black in it. You know, like that's what you need more. Joey, you're too good at this game. You're right.
That was good though. No, because I was like, this is like an iconic car. It's new, crossover SUV, Lamborghini yellow. Come on, they're always in yellow. And then the honeycombing thing, that's what I thought of too. This goofy ass grill. And then the back looks kind of weird too.
So in February, I bought a new car.
Okay.
Congratulations, Mazel Tov.
So you want to guess that quickly?
If you describe it to me.
Yeah,
sure.
describe it.
Well, I'll send Joey the picture.
Okay. Or no, I'm gonna guess with you.
Okay,
Ooh.
you both can guess. Okay.
Is it a new car or is it new to you?
No, it's a new. Well, we got the 2019, so technically not 2020, but still.
Okay.
But it's still like you got a new car. Okay.
Yes,
What country is it from? Is it American or is it not American?
it's not American.
That's all we're getting?
Yes or no questions. Let's go yes or no questions.
Well, you know the one rule is that you give us the country it is.
Fine. Japan.
Is it a sedan? Is it like a 4-door sedan?
It does have 4 doors. Yes.
Is it a hatch? Does it have a hatch?
So this yes, technically, but barely. But barely. I'll put it that way.
Joe, now I know how terrible my answers are sometimes. Like, because I'm just like, oh, that's not helpful at all. But okay, yeah, okay.
It is technically a hatch. Like it's not a typical trunk. Like I had a hatchback that was a real hatchback before. I had. Yeah, I'm not gonna tell you because that'll lead to it. So never mind.
Okay. It's a Japanese car. With
Yes,
a
like
possible
if
hatch.
I push a button, a whole door comes up, not just a trunk lid.
Is it just a Civic, like with the goofy trunk?
It is not a Civic, no.
Is it a Honda?
It's a Honda though.
No.
Is it a Hyundai? No, Hyundai is Hyundai Korean or Hyundai?
Hyundai
Hyundai's
is Korean, so
Yes.
wrong country.
Is it a Toyota?
It is a Toyota.
Is it a Corolla?
Okay, so not technically by name. No. In some countries, it is a Toyota. That's why I say it. Sorry, in some countries, it is a Corolla.
But not here.
Is it a Yaris?
No.
Wait, do you know there was an Xbox? I think the original Xbox or maybe Xbox 360 game called Toyota Yaris, where like it was just like a free branded content that is like one of the absolute worst video games I've ever played. Like to the point where like they gave it away for free and people were still angry. They're like, this game sucks.
Wow.
So fuck a Toyota Yaris. So it's a Toyota Corolla, but not quite a Corolla. Toyota.
So
What is
in
a
some
Corolla that's not a Corolla?
in some
Is
countries,
it Jimmy
this is-
Kimmel? That's a Man Show reference. What's going on?
in some countries, it's another version of the Corolla, but in the United States, they market it as a different model.
Is it still marketed as a Toyota?
Yes, 100%.
Okay.
But in Scion days, it might be a Scion, looks-wise.
So it's like a TC?
I mean, it's not, but
Yeah.
I know what you mean.
I don't know what the other Toyota is besides a Corolla.
Toyota Avalon? No, that's a Honda Avalon. Is Toyota Avalon?
There is, but that was a big one. I'm assuming it's smaller.
Well, he
than
said
has
he didn't say
hatch.
that I said it's a 4-door sedan. He just said it's 4 doors. Is it a sedan or is it bigger than a sedan?
Well, no, it's not bigger than a sedan. It's 4 doors. If 4 doors qualifies for you as a sedan, sure.
Well, I mean, like, you could have, like, a 4-door SUV. Like, I thought you were maybe being cute about, like, oh, no, it has 4 doors, but it's actually an SUV.
No, okay, so it's like what the car technically is a little bit ambiguous.
Is it a Transformer?
Yes. Oh, you got it right. No. No.
I don't know. What's the other one that's not like? What is what did
Toyota
the
that's
Corolla
not a
rebrand?
Corolla.
There's still Corollas, but I know in some countries they release it as like a special Toyota, but not in the United States.
Okay.
So I'm reading the Wikipedia article, and I was completely right. If Scion still existed in North America, they were planning to release this car as a Scion.
Joe, haven't we done Scions
Is-
on the show before? Like, haven't we had the same kind of
Yeah.
conversation?
We had the TC because that's what the kid had when you came and we had Korean barbecue.
Oh, the Bronx
2018
Beast.
is the first year.
Bronx Beast.
What is it? I don't know.
But 2019, like my edition and the editions going forward, were like, it looked a little bit different. We'll put it that way.
Have we seen commercials for it, or is it kind of an under-the-radar one?
I rented it one day in Florida. I'm like, I like this car.
I would guess Yaris or Corolla. It's not a Camry.
No, Toyota CHR.
I've never heard of that.
CHR.
CHR. Look
Can you
it
put
up
a
with
picture
me.
in Discord?
CHR of my particular car?
No, it doesn't have to be your car, but just a picture of it. I
I'm
don't
gonna try to find what mine looks like. So it's technically the smallest crossover.
Oh, it's kind of like a crossover. Okay,
Yeah,
so that's maybe why it
possible,
came
yeah.
up. Okay,
Where's it
yeah,
at?
yeah. I just googled Toyota CHR.
I'll send what mine looks like specifically in the Discord.
So I wouldn't call this a sedan. I would call this a crossover SUV.
That's why I was like a little bit, you know.
Oh, cool.
I still never heard
yeah,
of a CHR.
it's like a small
but-
SUV type thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's very small though. Like, if I were to be like, oh, I got an SUV, people would be like, fuck you, you know.
No, it's called a crossover for a reason. Yeah.
It's like it reminds me of like the same class size as a Honda CR-V. That like they were like small SUVs, like actually small SUVs.
Like this car is shorter, we'll put it, than like that for sure. Like it's like, you know.
That's interesting, and they brand this as a type of Corolla in other
In
places.
some countries, yeah, because like it's essentially if they took a Corolla body and we're like,
added a hatch to it.
yeah, like we're like fuck it, you know, because the hatch is not like we used to have a Matrix, and that was like legit
Yes.
hatchback, but then we turned in our Matrix for this, and it's great for the city.
This is the natural progression of the Matrix, right? Like
Same cat,
ancestor
same
of
car,
it.
different car. Same cat,
Yeah,
different
same
cat.
car. Exactly. They changed the name, and it's the same thing.
Here we go. This is the color scheme I got. Nicole and I got. We'll say she chose it.
Oh,
Put
I
it-
like I like the white with the black roof. That's really cool. Does it have a
Yeah.
panorama roof, or is it just a regular roof?
No, it's just a black roof. Don't worry.
Okay, cool.
We're not
It's
that
cool, though.
baller. Yeah.
Is your license plate Shibby?
Oh, how'd you know?
Well, so Brian, today, as this episode comes out, is Friday the 7th. What episode of your podcast? So this past Monday was Joe 2's episode, the Lifetime babysitting movie. What episode is today? What episode comes out today on Friday the 7th? What can people, as soon as they've done it with over here, tune over to the other one?
So I was gonna say, Joe too. You were on the Monday episode for Babysitting Mondays, and we talked about Babysitter's Black Book. It doesn't really matter what the title is because we talked a Lifetime film. And Joe, when you bring Lifetime films, we have such a good time. And I suggest you guys watch it. But if you don't watch, Joe, you're so passionate that like it's one of these episodes that, for example, I listen to some like toy collecting podcasts. I don't collect toys. But when I listen, they're so descriptive that I'm into it.
You collect figurines. There's a
No,
difference.
I don't collect anything really.
They're minerals, Marie.
Because my
Yeah,
wife
they're
won't
not
let me.
rocks.
My wife doesn't let me collect things, regardless. This is something where I think that anyone who's maybe into this podcast, who really likes you, Joe, too, listens to that episode on High School Slumber Party, they're
yeah.
like, it's a Joe 2 hype podcast, so I love it. And it's a fun movie, too. It wasn't a bad one.
Oh God, the
Babysitter's
movie
Black
was
Book.
good.
Wait, we had a really fun time talking about it.
Our friend of the show, Christian Larson, was watching it last night, sending us pictures of him watching it.
Oh, that's what he was watching? Dude,
Yeah.
I was so tired. I'm like, what the fuck is Larson sending us?
No, it's screenshots of him watching Babysitter's Black Book because
All right,
they were in the bed together.
I gotta message him back and be like, "Oh, that's awesome," because I really did not remember. I was like, "What is Larson talking about?"
It's okay. He listens to this podcast. He'll accept this as an apology, I'm sure.
No, Larson, I apologize. I really
Oh, I
was
knew
like,
exactly what it was, buddy.
I did not remember. I was like, "What did you talk?" So I bring it up too, but I'm glad you brought him up. Christian Larson is actually my guest for next Friday,
Oh, wow.
a Friday from now, for a movie that you guys are gonna love, and I think you're gonna cover because you kind of hinted at me. Christian Larson and I talked Corvette Summer with Mark Hamill, which is an awesome film, a big car film. You guys definitely need to check that out.
Yeah, whenever we do our next classic car lap, kicking it old school Part 2, that is definitely on the short list to be covered, but that's not next year, I can tell you that much.
I love Larson, and multiple people have said he's one of the favorite guests that I have on
Ooh,
because
I
he's
like
so
that.
knowledgeable. This Friday, today, if you're looking at the Cage Club Podcast Network, we're talking about a movie that pretty much has zero crossover with you guys. It's The Kissing Booth 2, Netflix film.
I mean, it has a crossover in that it is wildly longer than the first installment in the movie.
We mentioned it a little bit earlier on, so I'm glad we actually brought it up again. I forgot that that's this Friday's episode, but it's 2 hours and 12 minutes. It's a sequel to the original Kissing Booth. But I say in the episode, and I'll say it now, we don't get Netflix streaming teen movies if the Kissing Booth 1 is not a success. So anyone who wants to shit on the Kissing Booth, fuck you for not wanting any streaming movies. I'll put it that way.
So now, Brian, I will ask one more question. Is Monday's episode, which will be a babysitting movie, is that mine or is that not mine?
Yes, it is. So just want to mention that Shawnee Mead is our guest on the Kissing Booth 2, but Joey Lewandowski, you are the guest on the final Babysitting Monday of High School Slumber Party.
Wow,
The babysitter.
okay.
Wow.
The finale, you got
This
it.
is a fucking 2 weeks, right? Jeez.
I'm
So
giving
I
you my
kicked it
programming,
off, I wrapped
baby.
it up. Yeah, look at that. Look at that.
Damn.
You want me to give you
Everybody.
all my August programming? Because I got it.
No, I think that's good. I think this episode's already long enough, but we're good. We have to now announce our August programming next week, Joe. You and I. This is a week. I was saying when we announced this week that I was worried about this movie. Again, overblown. It's fine. 80 minutes. Didn't like it, but didn't hate it. Whatever.
Yeah,
but
it's not bad.
next week, a week I am very much looking forward to. We have our first themed week in the Missing Pieces lap. Again, not Michelle Rodriguez movies, but we are covering next week 2 movies from the same director, 2 Paul Verhoeven movies, RoboCop and Total Recall. And Brian, you talked about very recently on your podcast, last Friday as this comes out, and Joe, I mentioned it on this Tuesday's episode. The movie Society is a very kind of
Oh, yeah, you did.
Cronenbergian creature feature. Some Verhoeven stuff in there. There's some Total Recall adjacent kind of things, like practical effects, gross out, creep out stuff. So kind of keeping it great. I'm very excited to see both RoboCop and Total Recall again. The originals of both. Do not watch the remakes. I didn't hate the new
I don't
RoboCop.
think I've ever seen them. Like, I've never seen them, like, not with,
Oh
you
my
know, with
God.
my dad watching it on TV, so
Oh my god. They are both
Yeah.
great.
I'm excited, yeah.
RoboCop is wildly violent, pulpy, so like on purpose. But yeah,
Yeah.
Verhoeven is great. So I'm very, very excited to do both RoboCop and Total
Same.
Recall next week. 2 more Missing Pieces themed movies. Brian, thank you so very much for supporting us on Patreon. Number 1, toofast2forever.com.
Part owner of the Too Fast, Too Forever podcast.
Yeah, I guess that's again one way you could say it.
We should podcast for Pink Slips one day.
Oh, God. Podcast for Pinks.
How would one
Okay.
win? It makes no sense, but
It's
whatever.
like,
Yeah.
oh, you run High School Slumber Party now. I guess I don't have a podcast anymore. It's like, oh, I don't want that. Not that I don't
So
love your show,
weird.
but I don't want the extra work. That seems terrible.
You could sell it. You could sell it to someone who's interested.
Sell to the highest bidder. Okay.
Christian Larson,
Perfect.
do you want to run High School Slumber Party? Then race me for Pink Slips. I'm challenging you.
No, you podcast for Pinks.
Sorry.
Podding for
Podcast for Pinks.
Or
Pod
racing
racing?
for pods.
Pod
That's
racing.
what I call pod.
Oh, we could pod race. That's the Mike Manzi Dream Show. I don't know if you guys are aware, but
Oh, I'm
his
aware
dream
of
show. Okay, so it's
Yeah.
out there. The Mike
Yeah.
Manzi Dream Show is a pod racing show.
Although he did accidentally send me an email today meant for a different Joey, apparently. I don't know how many Joeys he knows, but he sent me an email today.
That he sends emails to regularly.
What did it say? What did it say? Tell us.
It was another podcast, one that we've talked about, that he wants to do, the Monster Club podcast. And he sent like logos, I guess that maybe somebody's going to design a logo or something, but I don't know, man. He's got ideas. He's got things. He's got buns in the oven if buns are podcast ideas. I don't know.
I'm excited for that one. I think Dan Colon's supposed to be the co-host of that one.
That's what I've heard. That's what the water cooler talk is all about.
That's what the rumor is. Yeah, I mean,
Ooh.
Mike Manzi, he is the expert of monster movies, so waiting for that.
But Brian, thank you so much for, again, supporting us, for giving us this movie to watch, and for joining us here today.
Thanks for having me. I'll be back on
Yeah, dude,
again,
it's
though
always
I'll be more of a co-host when the next one comes along. I won't spoil it, but I'm excited for that one as well.
Yeah, so are we. Cool.
Same, brother, same.
But for all things Too Fast, Too Forever, and High School Slumber Party, you go to cageclub.me, facebook.com/TooFast2Forever, or at TooFast2Forever on Twitter and Instagram. Email us, family@cageclub.me. Check out our Patreon page, like Brian has so generously done, at TooFast2Forever.com. And come back next week for both RoboCop and Total Recall, 2 wonderfully weird and delightful and good movies. I'm Joey Lewandowski,
I'm Joe too.
and that was Brian Rodriguez of High School Slumber Party, and we'll see you next time right here on Too Fast, Too Forever. Peace out!
Peace out.
It's always more to cut.
Peace.